Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 1600. You, the one-armed old man, was enraged. After living for so many years, when had he ever been toyed with like this? I can swear that you will regret this. The people of Fengtian Palace are not as simple as you think. The sincerity they're showing now is all a lie. He roared. You still want to sow discord? What a joke. The people of Fengtian Palace aren't that great, but they are many times better than the Vanga League. Li Yuan sneered. I know how to flatter myself too. The one-armed old man sneered. Alright, don't waste your time. Even if what you said is true, I won't choose to work with the Vanga League. You should think about how to face the wrath of Willow Tree and Yu Huang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the one-armed old man to the castle. Li Yuan asked curiously, Brother, are Yu Huang and Willow Tree still alive? No. Qin Feiyang nodded. Li Yuan and the palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at each other. They were really lucky to be alive. Li Yuan smiled, that's great. With the two of them, it will be easier for us to destroy the Vanga League. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and asked, Are you serious? Li Yuan's body stiffened and he quickly nodded, of course. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth curled up into a meaningful smile. The palace master of Fengtian Palace quickly changed the topic and asked, Little brother, when do we make our move? When Willow Tree and Yu Huang recover from their injuries. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the Black Sea. Is that the Nether Sea, one of the 4 forbidden lands in the Black Tortoise world? Yes. The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded. Qin Feiyang asked curiously, What's in the Nether Sea? Everything. But it's also very dangerous. That's because the water of the Netherworld Sea can corrode one's soul. Only false gods can enter. The palace master of the Imperial Conferring Palace said. How big is the Netherworld Sea? Qin Feiyang asked again. It's huge. Even I would need 3 days to reach the end of the Netherworld Sea. Furthermore, there are a lot of islands in the Nether Sea, and there are quite a few demigod realm beasts residing on those islands. Once they are disturbed, the consequences will be unimaginable. The palace master of the Imperial Conferring Palace said. A demigod beast, Qin Feiyang murmured. Suddenly, as if he had thought of something, he turned to look at the 2 palace masters of the Celestial Worship Palace and said, I heard from Willow Tree that you and the Vanga League have set a rule. People from the Black Tortoise world are not allowed to kill demigod dire beasts. Why is that? It has something to do with the one above. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace pointed at the sky, his words extremely obscure. Guardian? Qin Feiyang frowned. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace's expression changed, and he hurriedly whispered, Little brother, the name of the guardian can only be understood, not spoken. Otherwise, it will bring disaster. Qin Feiyang was stunned, and a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. Both of them saw it and couldn't help but mutter in their hearts. This was a typical example of a newborn calf not being afraid of a tiger. But they didn't know. They regarded the guardian of the Grim Reaper, and they were almost killed by Qin Feiyang. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace said, Little brother, I have a question to ask. Go ahead. Qin Feiyang said. When you entered the Black Tortoise world, did you see a fire dragon? The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, What's wrong? Then, how did you come in at that time? The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace and Li Yuan were both curious. Qin Feiyang said, If I say that I killed it, would you believe me? This joke isn't funny at all. Li Yuan was speechless. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He knew that no one would believe him. He said indifferently, I took advantage of the time when it was sleeping to sneak in. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace said, Then, when you leave the Black Tortoise world, you must be careful, don't make any noise and wake it up. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right then. I'll go and make preparations to destroy the Vangu League. Li Yuan, arrange a place for this little brother to rest for a few days. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace said. Qin Feiyang said, no need, I'll just rest in the castle. All right. I'll have Li Yuan stay here, if you need anything, just tell him. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace smiled. N. Qin Feiyang nodded. The palace master of Celestial Submission Palace said a few more words to Li Yuan, then turned around and left. After watching the palace master leave, Li Yuan retracted his gaze and smiled, brother, our palace master is a good person. I like his straightforwardness. However, I believe that you should know that I hate people who only listen to me behind my back. Qin Feiyang said. I understand, I understand. Li Yuan nodded repeatedly. Qin Feiyang glanced at him and went straight into the castle. What a scary young man. After Qin Feiyang left, Li Yuan was sweating profusely. Although he could defeat Qin Feiyang in a second in terms of cultivation, Qin Feiyang's every gaze seemed to carry an invisible deterrent force. Especially that extraordinary insight and sensitivity, it made people uncontrollably flustered. Being enemies with such a person really made one unable to eat or sleep well. Inside the castle, the one-armed old man was curled up in a corner. No one paid attention to him, but when he saw Qin Feiyang appear, his eyes were filled with hatred. Qin Feiyang ignored him and looked at Fatso, asking, did you take his Qinkuan bag? I've searched it, no. It should have been taken by the palace master of Celestial Submission Palace. Fatso said. Qin Feiyang nodded and glanced at Mu Xingxing who was also curled up in a corner, then looked at Dan Wangkai and said, we've seized a lot of Qinkuan bags in the past 2 days, right? N. The Qinkuan bags of Mu Xingxing, Pei Yunchang, the head of the pagoda, Shirlan, the 5 elders of Celestial Submission Palace, Ning Yifeng, Zhao Shimeng, and the others are all with me. Dan Wangkai nodded. These people are either false gods or disciples of rich families, so they must have a lot of herbs. Sort them out as soon as possible. But you don't have to report to me, you can do it yourself. But if you find the godly spell, remember to give it to me. Qin Feiyang said. Okay. Dan Wangkai said. Qin Feiyang withdrew his gaze, took out the long stick he took from the one-armed old man, and lowered his head to ponder. Judging from the aura, this godly artifact was a level higher than the rainbow sword and the 7-star sword. Who should he give it to? Fatso and Lu Hong both had godly artifacts. Willow Tree and Yu Huang also had godly artifacts. As for himself, he had Chang Shui, the ancient castle, and the fire lotus, so he didn't need it. Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at Wolf King. It seemed that this guy didn't have a godly artifact yet. He couldn't help but feel ashamed. Along the way, the white-eyed wolf had helped him many times. Especially the people in the spiritual state, the white-eyed wolf had saved him many times. How could he forget about this guy now? Qin Feiyang shook his head, threw the long stick to the white-eyed wolf, and said with a smile, although you can't revive now, you can keep it for self-defense. You finally remembered me? I thought you would always ignore me. The white-eyed wolf glared at Qin Feiyang with dissatisfaction, grabbed the long stick happily, and rubbed it lovingly. Boss Wolf, you've made a fortune. This long stick is called the Sky-Breaking Stick, and it's a level higher than the 7-star sword in my hand. Willow Tree opened his eyes and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Really? The white-eyed wolf was surprised. Of course. As the Grand Deacon of the Vangu League, how can the godly artifact be too weak? I think it's on the same level as the fire lotus in the young master's hand. Willow Tree nodded. Not bad, not bad. Have a taste of my dog-beating stick. The white-eyed wolf nodded, jumped up, and rushed to Mu Xingkong, and gave him a good beating. Bastard! Why did you hit me for no reason? Mu Xingkong screamed and roared. I don't like you, okay? The white-eyed wolf smirked and hit Mu Xingkong's head with the stick. Blood immediately spurted out. Mu Xingkong fainted on the spot and fell to the ground. Poor kid. Willow Tree shook his head, and his eyes were full of sympathy. Facing the white-eyed wolf, even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. Qin Feiyang also shook his head and smiled. He walked to the altar, opened the 6 words divine formula, and continued to copy the 6th stroke of the Xing formula. The 6th stroke was also the last stroke. He was looking forward to seeing how powerful the Xing formula was. Time flew by. Half a month had passed in the castle. Only a day and a half had passed in the outside world. Willow Tree and Youhuang's injuries had healed. The 6 great elders had also adjusted to their best state after half a month of cultivation. Dan Wangkai also sorted out all the Qiankuan bags, as well as the medicinal materials looted from Peach Blossom City last time. There were all kinds of medicinal materials, medicinal pills, gold coins, and countless. There were at least hundreds of perfect battle arts and perfect auxiliary battle arts. But he didn't find any divine arts and artifacts. However, Dan Wangkai was already very satisfied. Because these medicinal materials and battle arts were comparable to a big treasure. And he also found a lot of Kuei water essence, wood essence, 6th earth essence, 4th fire essence, and 8th gold essence. In other words, now, whether it was the spirit congealing pill, great creation pill, or 5 elements universe pill, they could all be refined in large quantities. And after Willow Tree and Yuhuang recovered, the first one they took care of was the one-armed old man. His ending was naturally quite miserable. He was even tortured to kneel and beg for mercy. However, although Willow Tree and Yuhuang had recovered, Qin Feiyang didn't immediately stop copying the Xing formula. It wasn't until the next morning that he retracted his arm and closed the 6 words formula. Outside. The sun rose, the morning sun shone on the earth, and everything gradually woke up. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Willow Tree, Yuhuang, and the 6 great elders. Willow Tree, Yuhuang, and the 6 great elders also knew that a great battle was about to begin, and they all got up to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and 6 battle swords appeared and flew to the 6 great elders. The 6 great elders were excited. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's not for you, it's just for you to kill the enemy temporarily." When the 6 heard this, a trace of disappointment suddenly crept up on their faces. But they didn't say much. They were already satisfied that Qin Feiyang didn't kill them. One after another, they dripped blood to recognize the master and put away the battle swords. "Are you ready?" Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and asked. "Yes." Everyone nodded. "Then, let's go." A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes, and he took a group of people and left the castle murderously. Chapter 1601. Outside. For the past 2 days, Li Yuan had been meditating. As soon as he sensed the aura of Qin Feiyang and the others, he immediately opened his eyes. When he saw that Willow Tree and Yuhuang had already recovered to their peak state, a look of disbelief flashed across his eyes. After suffering such serious injuries, they actually recovered in just 2 days. Are you kidding me? Could it be that they have divine pills? Qin Feiyang saw Li Yuan's doubts, but did not explain. He said, "Inform the palace master that we will set off immediately." Okay. Li Yuan hurriedly nodded and got up to look at Willow Tree and Yuhuang, as if he was looking at monsters. Whoosh! Immediately after, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared like lightning. Everyone, listen up. Gather here quickly. Soon. A voice filled with murderous intent echoed from the top of a mountain. Qin Feiyang looked up and saw the palace master of Fengtian Palace standing in the sky, his aura shaking the void and earth. Whoosh! As soon as the palace master of Fengtian Palace finished speaking, figures rushed out of the halls on the giant peaks one after another. These people were men and women, old and young. But without exception, they all emitted the aura of a false god. There was not even a single war emperor. Qin Feiyang said in surprise, "Is this Fengtian Palace full of false gods?" "Not really. This is the holy land of Fengtian Palace, so only false gods are qualified to live here. Of course, Li Chang is another matter." Willow Tree said. "What about the others?" Qin Feiyang asked. Willow Tree turned around and pointed to a mountain in front of them. The disciples below the war emperor level, including the family members of the false gods, are all over there. Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked over. The place where Willow Tree pointed was thousands of miles away. That place was also filled with strange peaks and precipitous ridges, with layers upon layers of mountains. But in comparison, the mountains there were much inferior to the Holy Land. They did not have the kind of majestic aura that could shock one's soul. However, one could faintly see that there was an ancient city located in the mountains. But the city wasn't big. It covered an area of several miles. This meant that the population was not large either. That city is called Sky Tribute City. No matter if it's the Vangu League or Fengtian Palace, they don't recruit unless they're extremely talented. Therefore, most of the people in Reverence City are descendants of the false gods in Reverence Palace. Some fake gods have already passed away, but their descendants are still in Sky Tribute City. However, both of them are somewhat inhumane. Willow Tree said. Inhumane? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. Yes. They will only keep those who can cultivate. Don't you think it's a slap in the face for saying such words? Yu Huang said with disdain. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's smile froze, shaking his head. "I'm just saying that you don't understand the human world. Stop bragging. You haven't seen a pig run, but you haven't eaten pork. I'm still wondering, even if you keep them, how much land and food can they occupy? Is there a need to be so cruel?" Yu Huang laughed angrily. Qin Feiyang said unhappily, "Enough, it's other people's business, why do you care so much? I just can't stand their behavior. They're even more cruel than us beasts." Yu Huang snorted coldly. The palace master of Fengtian Palace looked embarrassed and said, "Although you're a beast, your words are reasonable, making me ashamed. When the Black Tortoise world is unified, I think this rule should be abolished." That's right. Whether they have cultivation talent or not, they're all humans and should be treated equally. To be able to admit your mistakes and change, you're not hopeless. Yu Huang smiled. Yes, yes, yes. The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded. Qin Feiyang was speechless. What's wrong with this guy? As a beast, he's actually speaking up for the humans. He was sure that the group of fake gods behind the palace master of Fengtian Palace must be muttering in their hearts, "This guy is different. Different from the other beasts." However, this could be considered a good thing. After all, there weren't many kind beasts, and it was his good luck to be able to meet one. Seeing that even the palace master of Fengtian Palace was tamed by him, Yu Huang was very proud and shouted, "Then let's go." The palace master of Fengtian Palace turned to look at the fake gods and shouted, "Listen, when we reach the Vangu League, don't talk nonsense, attack directly, and leave no one alive." Yes. Everyone nodded. The palace master of Fengtian Palace shouted, "Open the portal." Everyone opened up a portal. This was to save time. The palace master of Fengtian Palace also opened a portal, and a shocking murderous aura broke out from his body. He waved his hand and shouted, "Let's go." Everyone stepped into the portal in unison. Qin Feiyang also led Willow Tree and the others into the portal of the palace master of Fengtian Palace. The next moment, a group of people descended on the plains. The plains were extremely vast, and the vegetation was lush. The surrounding mountains were like giant dragons lying on the ground. In the middle of the plains, a huge city stood majestically, covering an area of more than 10 miles. The dark city walls and tall buildings all exuded an ancient aura. However, there was not a single person in the entire city at this moment. It was an empty city. What's going on? Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders scanned the city in surprise. Why is this happening? The palace master of Fengtian Palace, Li Yuan, and a group of fake gods were also frozen in the void. Qin Feiyang turned to look at the palace master of Fengtian Palace and said in a deep voice, "This is the Vanga League?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded. "Where are they? Don't tell me they have the ability to predict the future." Qin Feiyang said angrily. "How would I know?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace was also a little angry. It won't be easy to evacuate such a large city. There's only one explanation. The Vanga League had already received the news and evacuated everyone in advance. That means there are spies in your palace master of Fengtian Palace. Qin Feiyang looked at the palace master of Fengtian Palace and said. Hearing this, the hearts of Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders sank as they scanned the fake gods around the palace master of Fengtian Palace. Impossible. The palace master of Fengtian Palace shook his head. Qin Feiyang said, "Then tell me, why would they disappear all of a sudden?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace remained silent as he looked at Li Yuan and the other fake gods. "My lord, you can suspect others, but you can't suspect me. I've followed you for so many years. Don't you know what kind of person I am?" Li Yuan hurriedly said. The others also spoke up to prove their innocence. The palace master of Fengtian Palace turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Could there be another reason? We're the only ones who know about this plan. How could there be another reason?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. "What's going on?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace was furious. Everything was ready, but the people were gone. It was as if there was a beautiful woman standing in front of him with her pants down and spear ready, but the woman suddenly told him that she had a relative and couldn't do it today. It was extremely uncomfortable. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at the palace master of Fengtian Palace. He asked, "Did the Vanga League ask you for people in the past 2 days?" "Ask for people?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace was taken aback and asked, "Who?" "The Grand Deacon, of course." Qin Feiyang said. "No." The palace master of Fengtian Palace shook his head. "That's right. The Vanga League must have known that the Grand Deacon went to your palace master of Fengtian Palace. Even if they didn't know, they must have guessed it. He hasn't returned for 2 days. They must be worried. But they didn't do anything. They didn't even ask. What does this mean? It means that they already know that the Grand Deacon is in my hands and gave up on rescuing him. So I'm sure that there's a Vanga League spy in your palace master of Fengtian Palace." Chapter 1602. Who is it? Get the hell out here. The palace master of Fengtian Palace was furious as he roared at the group of fake gods beside him. Everyone looked at each other with a perplexed expression. Why would the spy admit it? Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "Do you have any ideas?" The palace master of Fengtian Palace thought to himself. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people's expressions as his eyes flickered. He had to find the spy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to hide anything from the Vanga League in the future. Wait. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyelids twitched. If the Vanga League received the news, would the people of the Tianyang Empire also receive the news? Because this plan also included eliminating the Tianyang Empire. He quickly looked at Willow Tree and said in a deep voice, "Go to Tianyang City immediately and take a look." Go to Tianyang City? Willow Tree was stunned. Go now. Qin Feiyang shouted. Willow Tree nodded and quickly opened a portal to leave. The palace master of Fengtian Palace glanced at Willow Tree's back and transmitted his voice, "Little brother, do you suspect that the Vanga League also informed the Tianyang Empire? I can't rule out that possibility. Because if it were me, I would do the same." Qin Feiyang thought to himself. After all, the Tianyang Empire wasn't weak. Faced with the alliance between him and the palace master of Fengtian Palace, the Vanga League would definitely form an alliance with the Tianyang Empire. Where is the Soul Sealing Valley? Qin Feiyang asked. Over there. The palace master of Fengtian Palace pointed to the end of the plain. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed as he transmitted his voice, "Take me there and let the others stay here." Okay. The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded and turned to Li Yuan and the others. You guys stay here. I will go to the Soul Sealing Valley with this little brother. Yes. Everyone replied respectfully. Qin Feiyang glanced at Yu Huang and the 6 elders. He thought to himself, "You guys stay here as well, see if anyone will find an excuse to leave when Palace Master and I leave." What do you mean? Yu Huang was suspicious. If someone finds an excuse to leave, it's very likely that they have a guilty conscience. In that case, that person might be a spy. Qin Feiyang thought. Understood. Yu Huang nodded imperceptibly. Qin Feiyang nodded to the palace master, and the palace master immediately led Qin Feiyang to the Soul Sealing Valley. Not long after, Qin Feiyang saw the entrance of a valley. The entrance was very small. Beside the entrance stood a tall stone tablet with 3 bold words engraved on it. Soul Sealing Valley. This place must be empty as well. Before they even entered, the palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace said decisively. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace said, "There used to be someone guarding this stone tablet, but now there's no one, which means that they have already left." Qin Feiyang nodded, looking at the entrance of the Soul Sealing Valley. He said, "I'm very curious about this Soul Sealing Valley. Let's go in and take a look." You can't go in. The palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace shook his head. Why? Qin Feiyang frowned. Because there's a strange power in the Soul Sealing Valley that can seal the soul of a living being. Once the soul is sealed, it will immediately petrify and turn into a stone statue. Only pseudo-gods can enter. The palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace said. So scary. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Yes. Although we can't go in, we can go to the sky and see the appearance of the Soul Sealing Valley. The palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace said. Qin Feiyang nodded, followed behind the palace master, and rushed into the sky above the entrance. The appearance of the Soul Sealing Valley immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang's eyes. This Soul Sealing Valley was very big. Even with Qin Feiyang's current cultivation, he was still unable to see the whole picture. Inside the valley, there were mountains and countless small valleys. These small valleys crisscrossed and were extremely complicated, like a maze. However, in the valley, other than humans and beasts, there were everything else. For example, flowers and trees. Medicinal herbs, spirit essence. Rivers, streams. If he didn't know in advance that this was a big forbidden area of the Black Tortoise realm, Qin Feiyang would definitely think that this was just a slightly more complicated maze valley. Will it really be petrified? Qin Feiyang asked. He always felt that the words of the palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace were somewhat unbelievable. The palace master of the Sky Conferring Palace did not reply, but turned and flew away. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. Soon. A beast roar sounded. Following closely. The palace master of the sky conferring palace flew over with a war emperor level beast. Above the entrance, the palace master of the sky conferring palace did not say anything and directly threw the beast into the soul-sealing valley. The moment the beast fell into the soul-sealing valley, its huge body was immediately petrified. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. This was too terrifying. Now you believe it. You also saw my sincerity. If I had the intention to harm you, I wouldn't have told you this and directly brought you in. The palace master of the sky conferring palace laughed. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, then how to remove the petrification. Leaving the soul-sealing valley, the petrification will naturally disappear. However, if it is broken by someone in the state of petrification, then even a pseudo-god will die on the spot. The palace master of the sky conferring palace said. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat, his eyes full of fear, and asked, then this petrification ability, what is the cause of it? No matter what, there was a source. This petrification must have come from something. I don't know. I'm afraid that only the Vanga League knows the reason. The guardian of the miracle should also know. When I had nothing to do, I also thought about this matter. According to my guess, the biggest possibility is that there is a terrifying demon hidden in the soul-sealing valley. The palace master of the sky conferring palace said. Demon. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. The palace master of the sky conferring palace laughed, little brother, don't think about it now. If you really want to find the answer, wait until you break through to the pseudo-god level. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly, glanced at the soul-sealing valley, and said, let's go back. Whoosh! The two of them returned the way they came. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang stepped on the brakes and suddenly turned his head to look at the soul-sealing valley. What's wrong? The palace master of the sky conferring palace was shocked. Qin Feiyang was silent, scanning the valley, his eyes flashing coldly. But gradually, he frowned, and a trace of suspicion crept up on his face. The palace master of the sky conferring palace asked anxiously, little brother, don't scare me. What's wrong? I suddenly felt that there seemed to be a gaze spying on me in the soul-sealing valley. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. The palace master of the sky conferring palace was stunned and said, if there is really someone spying on me, even you can feel it. But just now, I didn't feel it at all. Is it an illusion? Qin Feiyang murmured. It must be an illusion. The palace master of the sky conferring palace said. No. I don't believe in illusions. Qin Feiyang shook his head, turned to look at the palace master of the sky conferring palace, and said, why don't you go in and take a look? Seeing that Qin Feiyang was not joking, the palace master of the sky conferring palace glanced at the soul-sealing valley for a moment and nodded, okay, I'll go in and take a look. You have to be careful. Okay. Qin Feiyang replied. The palace master of the sky conferring palace immediately turned into a stream of light and rushed into the soul-sealing valley. Just as the palace master of the sky conferring palace disappeared into the depths of the soul-sealing valley, a sinister laugh suddenly sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Kid, you're very sensitive. There was a piercing chill in the voice. Who? Qin Feiyang quivered and shouted. Don't be nervous. If I wanted to attack you, you would have been turned into a stone statue. The voice said. Stone statue? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The next moment, he couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. He glanced around the void, his eyes full of vigilance, and said, are you, that's right. I am the source of the mysterious power in the soul-sealing valley. The voice said proudly. Who are you? How can you have such a heaven-defying ability? What's your relationship with the Vanga League? Qin Feiyang thought. You're asking too many questions. The voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind again, full of impatience. Then tell me, who are you? Qin Feiyang said. I am an existence that you will never be able to imagine. It's not convenient to reveal it now. When you break through to the false god realm, come here and find me. I will give you a great opportunity. The mysterious voice said. Great opportunity? Qin Feiyang was stunned and sneered, I don't believe there is a free lunch in this world. Indeed. If you want to gain something, you have to pay first. The mysterious voice laughed. Qin Feiyang said, then what do you want me to do now? Whoosh! A black light suddenly swept out from a small valley and floated at the entrance of the soul-sealing valley. Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. Because this black light actually gave him an extremely strong sense of danger. Don't be afraid. This is a wisp of my divine sense. It won't hurt you. The mysterious voice sounded again. Divine sense. Qin Feiyang was shocked. According to the willow tree, only a true war god's divine sense can leave the sea of consciousness. In other words, this mysterious person is a war god. Facing a war god's divine sense, how could he dare to be careless? The most important thing was that with Lu Xingchen as an example, he was worried that this divine sense would take over his body. So he didn't dare to be careless at all. What a cautious young man. The mysterious person smiled helplessly and said, I swear in the name of the war god that this wisp of divine sense will never hurt you. Come down, let's talk. I don't even know who you are. Do you think I will believe your oath? Qin Feiyang sneered. The mysterious person said, then what do you want to believe? I won't believe you no matter what. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What a joke. Keeping a war god's divine sense by his side was tantamount to a ticking time bomb. Not to mention this mysterious person also had the ability to petrify. If he wasn't careful, he might be smashed to pieces. The mysterious person was silent for a while and said, Come, I really won't hurt you. And my divine sense can't leave the soul-sealing valley. Come quickly. This voice seemed ordinary, but it seemed to carry a magical power. Qin Feiyang's expression immediately became dull and his eyes became unfocused. At this moment. Chapter 1603. Hee, the mysterious man's hideous laughter echoed in the void. But Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear to it. Finally. He stepped into the soul-sealing valley and stopped in front of that wisp of divine consciousness. However, unexpectedly, his body was not petrified. But he still did not wake up. However, suddenly, that divine consciousness went into Qin Feiyang's forehead. And it went straight to Qin Feiyang's sea of consciousness. A tearing pain immediately engulfed him. Qin Feiyang screamed miserably and woke up immediately. When he found that he had entered the soul-sealing valley at this moment, his expression changed. Without thinking, he endured the pain in his sea of consciousness and immediately retreated. But he was shocked to find that his body seemed to be frozen and could not move. How could this be? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The pain in his sea of consciousness was getting more and more intense. He quickly sensed the situation in his sea of consciousness and his face instantly turned pale. The sea of consciousness could only be opened when one broke through to the false god realm. In other words, before reaching the false god realm, the sea of consciousness was closed. But at this moment, he felt that the wisp of divine consciousness tore his sea of consciousness apart. And that divine consciousness, after entering the sea of consciousness, went straight to his soul. What do you want to do? Qin Feiyang's whole body was cold and he roared. What do I want to do? Of course, I want to take over your body. It's not easy to wait for such a talented young man like you, who also contains the power of the purple gold dragon blood. Of course, I won't let you go. But your vigilance makes me a little annoyed. But no matter how vigilant you are, I have a way to deal with you. The mysterious man laughed again and again. Damn it! Qin Feiyang was shocked and angry. He said, there are so many false gods in the Vanga League, why don't you look for them but me? They are false gods. In my current state, it will take a lot of effort to take over their bodies and I may even be counterattacked, so I can't take the risk. The mysterious man grinned. Before his voice died away, Qin Feiyang felt a tearing pain in his soul. Obviously, his divine sense had already begun to seize the body. But suddenly, the ancient castle appeared in his sea of consciousness. Dark light surged and exuded a mighty divine might. That strand of divine sense was immediately confined. Following closely, the ancient castle left Qin Feiyang's sea of consciousness with that strand of divine sense, and floated in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang also immediately took out an essence soul pill and put it into his mouth. How is this possible? This castle, meanwhile. His divine sense struggled madly, and his words were filled with terror that couldn't be dispersed. You want to possess me? Aren't you too naive? Qin Feiyang sneered. The mysterious man roared, what exactly is this ancient castle? How is it so terrifying that even my petrification is useless against it? The first thing it wanted to do was to petrify the castle and Qin Feiyang, but it found that it couldn't. The petrification effect was blocked by the power of the ancient castle. It's a divine object that you can't afford to provoke. Qin Feiyang said. The divine sense stopped struggling and was silent for a long time before it laughed. Actually, this lord was just joking with you before, don't take it seriously. Joking? Qin Feiyang snorted. It was trying to seize his body, and it was still a joke. Did it think that he was a 3-year-old child that was so easy to fool? This lord knows that you definitely won't believe it, but this lord can tell you a secret. This secret may be useful to you. The mysterious man said. What secret? Qin Feiyang asked disapprovingly. The mysterious man said, this lord has a way to break the devil mark. What? Qin Feiyang's spirit was lifted. Break the devil mark. Didn't that mean that Willow Tree and the 6 great elders could also leave the Black Tortoise world with him? His heart suddenly became hot. Wait. If this person really had a way to break the devil mark, then he could just leave directly. Why did he have to seize his body? Wasn't this superfluous? The mysterious man said anxiously, I really found a way to break it, please believe me. Then why didn't you leave? Why did you want to seize my body? Qin Feiyang said. It's a long story. I was sealed in the Soul Sealing Valley. As long as the seal is not broken, I can't leave the Soul Sealing Valley, let alone leave the Black Tortoise world. The mysterious man sighed. Qin Feiyang said, so you want to seize my body and use it to escape the Black Tortoise world? Yes. After seizing the body, I can cut off the connection with the main body, and then I can break free from the shackles of the seal. This is the only way. The mysterious man said. So, you're serious about seizing my body, and you said that it was just a joke. Qin Feiyang said angrily. The mysterious man smiled awkwardly. Qin Feiyang asked, who sealed you here? An extremely terrifying existence. Even the god of battle is like an ant in front of him. The mysterious man said. Even war gods are ants. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Then how strong is this person? Above war gods. Please help me. I promise, I won't seize your body again. The mysterious man said with a hint of pleading in his tone. Then tell me, if you don't seize my body, how can I help you? Qin Feiyang said. Find someone and let me seize his body. Then I can leave the Soul Sealing Valley, or even the Black Tortoise world, and leave the divine ruins. The mysterious man said, his tone was full of yearning and desire for freedom. Why should I help you? Qin Feiyang sneered. The mysterious man hurriedly said, I can tell you the way to break the devil mark. Then you tell me first. Qin Feiyang said. If this person wasn't lying, then it was really a good thing for him. That's impossible. If I tell you, what if you don't tell me? I promise, after I succeed in seizing your body, I will tell you immediately. The mysterious man said anxiously. Promise? You think I will believe you? In my opinion, you don't have a way to break the devil mark at all. You just want to use this point to seize my body. Qin Feiyang said. The mysterious man went silent. What? You have nothing to say? Don't think you can fool me just because I'm young. Just be honest, what do you want? You haven't given up on seizing my body, right? Qin Feiyang sneered. Sigh. Why are you so suspicious? I really do have a way to break it. And I promise it will be effective. The mysterious man sighed. I'm wondering, why are you looking for me? Although you don't dare to seize the body of a false god from the Vanga League, there are still many disciples in the Vanga League. Although they can't enter the soul-sealing valley, you can confuse them like you did to me and make them enter the valley. In this way, you can seize their bodies, right? Qin Feiyang frowned. My ability to confuse is limited. It will only be effective when I'm close to the soul-sealing valley. And the Vanga League, because they know of my existence, has long set a rule that no disciples are allowed to go near the soul-sealing valley. As for looking for you, it's because I eavesdropped on the Vanga League people talking about you. They said that you are a very scary young man. The mysterious man said. Eavesdropping? What do you mean? You have nothing to do with the Vanga League? Qin Feiyang was stunned and asked. No. When I was sealed here, there were no humans in the Black Tortoise realm. The mysterious man said. No humans. Could it be that you were sealed by the creator of the miracle? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Yes, and no. It was a ferocious beast that sealed me. It was the creator's spiritual pet. Its strength is very scary. The mysterious man said, and his tone carried a strand of anger that couldn't be dispelled, as well as fear. The creator's spiritual pet. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. If what the mysterious man said was true, then this creator was too scary. Even his spiritual pet could seal a god of war. How terrifying was his strength? How did the Vanga League people find you? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. It's a long story. The first leader of the Vanga League was only at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm when he first entered the soul-sealing valley. At that time, I bewitched him and seized his body. But the result was the same as you. A divine artifact appeared and saved him. But that divine artifact was still a little inferior to your ancient castle. It could only block the petrification effect, but it couldn't imprison me. When I saw that the situation was not good, I immediately ran away. This person has been looking for me. Later, he also found my original body, but my original body was sealed, and he could do nothing. So he established the Vanga League here. The mysterious man sighed. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, where are the first leader and the divine artifact now? The first leader has already passed away. But that divine artifact has been passed down for generations, and now it is in the hands of the current leader. Little brother, it's fate that we met. Please, can you help me? After the mysterious man finished speaking, he begged. Tell me the way to break the devil mark first. I'll give it a try. If it really works, I'll believe you. At that time, I can find you a physical body for you to seize. Qin Feiyang said. Really? The mysterious man was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Then can you help me find a young man as outstanding as you? It would be best if there is also purple gold dragon blood. The mysterious man said. Your requirements are quite high. It's impossible to find someone with purple gold dragon blood. However, I know two outstanding people, and they are now in the Black Tortoise world. One of them has even awakened a rare battle soul, the all-seeing eye. Qin Feiyang smiled. These two people were naturally Mu Qing and Zhuge Mingyang. All-seeing eye. The mysterious man was shocked and said excitedly, I want the person who awakened the all-seeing eye. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, I'll think of a way, but the prerequisite is that your method really works. It will definitely work. Because I heard this from the guardian himself. In fact, breaking the devil mark is not difficult, but it is not easy either. The mysterious man said. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. The mysterious man said, you should know that there are many demigod-level beasts in the Black Tortoise world, right? Qin Feiyang nodded. Then you should also know that the guardian has ordered that no one is allowed to kill those demigod-level beasts, right? The mysterious man said again. I heard this from the people of the Fengtian Palace. It seems that this is indeed the rule set by the guardian. Qin Feiyang said. The mysterious man asked, then do you know why it set this rule? Why? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Chapter 1604. But suddenly, Qin Feiyang was stunned. Could it be that the way to remove the devil's mark lies in those pseudo-god beasts? You're really smart. I'm getting more and more eager to have your body. That's right. The way to remove the devil's mark is to eat their hearts. As long as you eat one of their hearts, the devil's mark will naturally be removed. The mysterious man said. It's that simple. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. However, although it's simple, who dares to kill a pseudo-god beast? I'm afraid that before you can kill it, the guardian will have already arrived. The mysterious man said. Then why didn't you tell the Vanguo League? I believe that if they knew about this, even if the guardian ordered them to, they would definitely take the risk to hunt the pseudo-god beasts. Qin Feiyang said suspiciously. You think I haven't tried? I once told a pseudo-god in the Vanguo League in private. He also wanted to test me and give it a try. But in the end, before he could succeed, the guardian arrived and killed him. Fortunately, he was killed instantly and didn't say anything. Otherwise, when he revealed his intention to hunt the pseudo-god beasts, the guardian would definitely use rule force to kill me. Since then, I didn't dare to tell anyone else. The mysterious man said. Qin Feiyang frowned. After pondering for a moment, he nodded. All right, I will find a chance to try. If it works, I will come to you again. Then you have to be careful. The guardian can use rule force. Even if it's a pseudo-god beast, it can be killed instantly. In addition, if you fall into the hands of the guardian, don't betray me. The mysterious man said. Don't worry. Even if I die, you will live well. By the way, where are you sealed in Soul Sealing Valley? Qin Feiyang asked curiously. The deepest part. The mysterious man said. Fengtian Palace's palace master went in. Will he find you? Qin Feiyang asked. The mysterious man said, even if he finds me, he can't do anything because no one can break the seal. Last question, do you have a demon imprint on your body? Qin Feiyang asked. No. The mysterious man said. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang was stunned. I really didn't. You'll understand when you see me in the future. The mysterious man said. Qin Feiyang nodded, stepping out of the Soul Sealing Valley and putting away the ancient castle. The mysterious man's divine sense immediately regained its freedom and said, I'll wait for you here. After saying that, he turned around and left. Wait. Qin Feiyang looked at the rapidly disappearing divine sense. Suddenly, he thought of something and said loudly, I thought of another problem. What is it? The mysterious man said. I'm here to destroy the Vanguo League, but all the members of the Vanguo League have moved. Do you know when they moved? Qin Feiyang said. Yesterday morning. The mysterious man said. Yesterday morning. Qin Feiyang frowned and said again, since you can eavesdrop on their conversation, do you know who tipped them off? The mysterious man thought for a while and said, I heard from the leader and deputy leader of the Vanga League that someone did tip them off. It was someone from the Fengtian Palace, but they didn't mention who it was. Just as I expected. Qin Feiyang murmured. A cold light flashed in his eyes. He looked at the divine sense and said, thank you. Although he didn't know who it was, at least he was sure that the spy was in the Fengtian Palace. I suddenly thought of something that you might be interested in. The mysterious man said. What is it? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. There's a place of inheritance hidden in the soul-sealing valley. There's a kind of control-type divine skill called the puppet technique. I remember that the deputy leader of the Vanga League once brought a woman there. She seemed to be the leader of the main tower. In the end, they succeeded in getting the inheritance. The mysterious man said. The place of inheritance? The puppet technique? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He was wondering why the leader of the main tower and the deputy leader of the main tower had the puppet technique at the same time. It turned out that it was a kind of inherited divine skill. After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang said, I'm interested, but can I get the inheritance? That depends on your luck. The next time you come, I'll take you to the place of inheritance. After the mysterious man finished speaking, his divine sense disappeared into the depths of the soul-sealing valley. The puppet technique. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. It would be good if he could get this divine skill. Because the puppet technique could directly read the other party's memory and control the other party's mind to make them lose consciousness. This was a trump card. Whoosh! After a while, a stream of light flew out of the soul-sealing valley and landed next to Qin Feiyang. It was the leader of the Fengtian Palace. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked. Not a single person. Even the medicine field has been moved away. But in the deepest part of the soul-sealing valley, I found a stone tower. It seems to be sealing something inside. The leader of the Fengtian Palace said. What sealed? Qin Feiyang pretended to be surprised. I don't know. I've tried, but I can't break the seal. The leader of the Fengtian Palace shook his head. Qin Feiyang was curious and said, I really want to go in and take a look. I'm afraid you won't have the chance because you can't go in. The leader of the Fengtian Palace smiled. Yeah. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. He didn't mention the appearance of the mysterious man and said, besides the stone tower, what else did you find? Nothing. The leader of the Fengtian Palace shook his head. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He didn't find the place of inheritance. It seemed that this place of inheritance was hidden very well. Whoosh! At this moment, there was a sound of breaking air behind them. The two turned their heads and saw the willow tree flying toward them like lightning. Young master. The willow tree landed in front of Qin Feiyang and bowed. How is it? Qin Feiyang asked. The willow tree glanced at the leader of the Fengtian Palace. There's no harm in saying it. Qin Feiyang said. The willow tree said in a deep voice, Tianyang City has also become an empty city. I've searched the entire city and didn't find a single child. Damn it. The leader of the Fengtian Palace was furious. Qin Feiyang looked at the leader of the Fengtian Palace and said, two major forces moved at the same time. Now you should believe that there's a spy in your Fengtian Palace. Go and investigate immediately. We must find this bastard. The leader of the Fengtian Palace said. Do you have a way? Qin Feiyang asked. The leader of the Fengtian Palace frowned and shook his head with a bitter smile, to be honest, I really don't know how to investigate. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, "Let's go and meet up with everyone first." So, the three of them rose into the air and quickly flew to the sky above the city. "Palace Master, what's the situation? Is there anyone in the Soul-Sealing Valley?" Li Yuan and the others immediately surrounded him. "No." The leader of the Fengtian Palace shook his head. Yu Huang and the 6 elders also walked to Qin Feiyang's side. "Did anyone leave?" Qin Feiyang secretly asked. Yu Huang said, "No one left even half a step, and no one sent a message." "You can keep your composure. It seems that this person isn't easy to find." Qin Feiyang muttered. Yu Huang transmitted his voice, "Do you think it's possible that the spy isn't among these people?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Didn't the willow tree say so? There are still some false gods guarding the Fengtian Palace. Could this spy be one of them?" Yu Huang said. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. He turned to the palace master of the Fengtian Palace and asked, "How many false gods are guarding the Fengtian Palace now?" 3. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace said and transmitted his voice, "Wait, are you suspecting them? I can't rule out that possibility." Qin Feiyang secretly said. "No, I won't. They are all my relatives. One is my wife, and the other 2 are my eldest son and second son." The palace master of the Fengtian Palace transmitted his voice. "You have 2 sons?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. "Yes. They are much older than Chang, and they both broke through to the false god realm a few decades ago." The palace master of the Fengtian Palace said. "If that's the case, then the spy is among the group in front of us." Qin Feiyang thought for a while and transmitted his voice, "Let's go back first, and cooperate with me later. We should be able to find this person." "How?" the palace master of the Fengtian Palace asked. Qin Feiyang said, "No matter what I say, you agree." "Okay." The palace master of the Fengtian Palace nodded and shouted, "Let's go back." Buzz. Immediately, everyone opened the portal and walked in one after another. But Qin Feiyang didn't move. He had been observing everyone. When the last person entered the portal, he opened it and walked in with the willow tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders. He was worried that the spy might hide behind them and take the opportunity to sneak away when everyone returned to the Fengtian Palace, so he left last. "Who did it? Bastard, come out." But when Qin Feiyang arrived in the sky above the Fengtian Palace, angry roars suddenly sounded. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace roared. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. When he lowered his head and looked at the sacred mountain below, his face suddenly froze. The sacred mountain below had been turned into ruins. There was also a tragic aura in the air. "What's going on? Wasn't this place still fine when we left? What happened?" Willow Tree was surprised. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace shouted, "Li Yuan, go to the Fengtian city and take a look." Li Yuan suddenly said, "Palace master, look at the Fengtian city, it's also destroyed." Hearing this, everyone immediately turned to look at the Fengtian city. As expected, the originally bustling Fengtian city was now nothing. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace looked at Li Yuan and shouted, "Go and take a look." Li Yuan turned into a stream of light and flew towards the Fengtian city like lightning. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace also released his divine sense and spread it in all directions. Instantly, it covered the entire sacred ground. Why is it like this? Soon, the palace master of the Fengtian Palace's face turned pale as he roared, "Madam, where are you?" "What? Madam is gone. What about the 3 young masters?" The group of fake gods looked at the palace master of the Fengtian Palace in shock. "I can't find them either." The palace master of the Fengtian Palace shook his head. "Damn it, damn it, which bastard is it, come out and die. The group of fake gods roared, killing intent soaring into the sky. Willow Tree looked at everyone and turned to Qin Feiyang, asking, young master, do you know what's going on? I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head. His eyes were extremely sinister as he said, however, I have a bold guess. What guess? Willow Tree asked. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace and the others also heard Qin Feiyang's words and turned to look at him. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, I think it should be the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire. What do you mean? Yu Huang said. After the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire found out about our plan, they beat us at our own game. When we went to the Soul Sealing Valley, they came to the Fengtian Palace to eliminate everything here. Could it be that you're feeling guilty? Qin Feiyang said. I'm not the spy. Why would I feel guilty? I just don't want to see the palace lord walk into your trap step by step. After all, you're not a trustworthy person. The old woman said angrily. How am I not trustworthy? Do you know me very well? Let me tell you. You've been trying to sabotage us time and time again. I can't help but suspect that you might be the spy. Qin Feiyang said. Ridiculous. I'm the 9th elder of Fengtian Palace. How can I be a spy? The old woman said angrily. Then cut the crap. I don't have to work with Fengtian Palace. If you piss me off, I'll leave right now. Qin Feiyang said angrily. The old woman looked at him with disdain. She wanted to say something, but the palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly shouted, shut up. From now on, Qin Feiyang's words are my words. Everyone has to listen to him. The old woman's pupils shrank. She stopped talking and went silent. The palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at Qin Feiyang and said, I choose to trust you. You'd better not disappoint me. Speak. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the black-robed old man, do you remember how I controlled you in Qinyang mountain range? The black-robed old man nodded. What controlled you was a divine art called the enslavement seal. Whether it's a human or a beast, once controlled by the enslavement seal, their soul will be bound. With the enslavement seal, not only can I control a person's life and death, I can also peek into their inner thoughts. Qin Feiyang said. What? The black-robed old man's face changed. The 3rd elder, 4th elder, and 5th elder were also controlled by the enslavement seal. When they heard Qin Feiyang's words, their faces turned pale. They didn't expect such a terrifying divine art to control them. The palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at Qin Feiyang and said, you mean to let them be controlled by the enslavement seal? No. I won't use the enslavement seal this time. Because the enslavement seal still has its shortcomings. If the spy is prepared or has a strong will, he might not be able to find out. Qin Feiyang said. Then if you don't use the enslavement seal, what are you going to use? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was suspicious. Qin Feiyang said, what I'm going to use is a secret technique that is more vicious than the enslavement seal. I believe you should know about the puppet technique. Puppet technique? Are you talking about the puppet technique that the vice leader of the Vanga League mastered? The palace master of Fengtian Palace asked. N. Qin Feiyang nodded. You also know the puppet technique? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was surprised. Yes. When I killed the master of the pagoda, I learned the puppet technique from her. As long as the people here are all under my control and I can read their memories, we will be able to see who the spy is immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Puppet technique? Willow Tree was stunned and said, young master, why didn't I know that you learned the puppet technique? The 6 elders also looked at him suspiciously. You really believe it? I'm just bluffing them. The purpose is to make the spy panic. Qin Feiyang snickered inwardly. Then, he carefully observed everyone's expression. Suddenly, he keenly noticed that the old woman who claimed to be the ninth elder had a trace of panic in her eyes. Could she be the spy? So that's how it is. Willow Tree and the others heard Qin Feiyang's words and suddenly understood. The master of the pagoda also knows the puppet technique? Why didn't I know about this? At the same time, the palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. This matter is absolutely true. The 6 great elders can all testify. Qin Feiyang said. The master of the pagoda does know the puppet technique. And this puppet technique was given to her by the vice leader of the Vangu League. It's just that only a few people know about this. As the former elders of the pagoda, the words of the 6 elders were naturally persuasive. Qin Feiyang must have secretly kept the Yiglao woman. He found that after hearing the words of the 6 elders, the old woman looked even more panicked. Palace master, this must be a trap. You see, if you agree, we will all be controlled by him. At that time, we will have to listen to his orders. If he goes back on his word, we can only watch helplessly. The old woman said anxiously. The palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at Qin Feiyang and said, this is indeed too risky. Is there no other way? No. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I'll say it again. If you trust me, you will agree. I can't agree. Palace master, this is not child's play. You must be careful. This time. Not only the old woman, but the others also objected. Because they were indeed worried that this might be a trap set by Qin Feiyang. Willow Tree raised his eyebrows and snorted, not only did we fail to be a good person, but we also ended up with a bad reputation. Young master, let's go. Yes. Let's go. Anyway, this spy is a scourge of Fengtian Palace. It has nothing to do with us. Moreover, we have Chang Shui. Even without Fengtian Palace, we can still destroy the Vangu League and the Tianyang Empire. It's just a little tiring. Yu Huang nodded in agreement. Qin Feiyang looked at the palace master of Fengtian Palace. The palace master of Fengtian Palace also lowered his head, struggling with his thoughts. It seems that you still don't dare to trust me. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. He cupped his hands and said, if that's the case, then I won't ask for a rebuff. Goodbye. After saying that, he turned around and took out a portal. Wait. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's eyes trembled as he hurriedly looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang turned to look at him. The palace master of Fengtian Palace clenched his hands and said, I believe you. Palace master, the old woman and the others were burning with anxiety. The palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly turned his head to look at the old woman and the others, and shouted, if anyone dares to say another word, then I have reason to suspect that he is a spy. Everyone lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound, but their faces were full of dissatisfaction. Li Yuan glanced at the crowd and said in a deep voice, even the palace master trusts Qin Feiyang, what are you afraid of? Hurry up, don't waste time. After saying that, he was the first to walk in front of Qin Feiyang. The palace master of Fengtian Palace raised his eyebrows and shouted, hurry up. Alas! The old man in black let out a long sigh and also walked in front of Qin Feiyang, standing next to Li Yuan. The others also moved in 2s and 3s, and walked in front of Qin Feiyang one after another. The old woman was also walking towards Qin Feiyang. At this moment, her expression was very calm. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't find anything unusual about her. However, just before, Qin Feiyang had already targeted the old woman. Because this person's previous series of actions were too strange. First, he fanned the flames. Then, he revealed a panicked look. These were all signs of a guilty conscience. Therefore, Qin Feiyang paid special attention to this person. Even though the old woman looked calm, he noticed that she was glancing around out of the corner of her eyes. It gave people the feeling that she was looking for a way out. Can you all hurry up? As long as you have a clear conscience, what are you afraid of? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he shouted impatiently. The people who were still behind, hearing this, hurriedly sped up and ran towards Qin Feiyang. The old woman also sped up her pace, but there was a trace of anxiety in her eyes. Qin Feiyang secretly smiled. He could basically conclude that this person was a spy, and he transmitted his voice, "Palace Master, get ready to take action." The Palace Master of Fengtian Palace was shocked and secretly said, "Who is it? Whoever runs away later, it's that person." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Before his voice died away. Chapter 1606. The old woman thought that no one was paying attention to her, so she thought she could escape. However, just as she took a step forward, the palace lord of Fengtian Palace also dashed forward and stopped in front of the old woman. "Where do you think you are going? What's going on?" The old woman was surprised. How did he react so quickly? "Surround her!" Qin Feiyang shouted. Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders dashed out and surrounded the old woman. What's going on? Li Yuan and the others were still in shock. They couldn't accept it. The 9th elder was a spy. Qin Feiyang swept his gaze over the group of people and shouted, "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and go." The group of people quivered and immediately ran over, surrounding the old woman so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. "9th elder, why are you here? What did the Vangda League give you to betray us? We are a family." Li Yuan and the other 8 grand elders looked at the old woman with pained expressions as they cried out. "What are you talking about? I just thought of something and need to take care of it." "What? Are you suspecting that I am a spy?" The old woman said with a dumbfounded expression. "Pretend. Keep pretending." Qin Feiyang walked step by step to Lu Mu's side, his face filled with a cold smile. "Qin Feiyang, don't talk nonsense. Isn't it just the art of puppetry? What am I afraid of? Come, I will let you control me and read my memories." The old woman had a very angry look on her face as she aggressively walked towards Qin Feiyang to prove her innocence. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He secretly sent a message to Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders, "Be careful. She is desperate." Lu Mu was shocked. He transmitted his voice, "You mean, she's just putting on an act to trick us so that she can make a move on you?" "Yes. Be careful, she will self-destruct." Qin Feiyang thought. Upon hearing the word self-destruct, Willow Tree and the others immediately became vigilant. The self-destruction of a quasi-divinity was no joke. The scene of Gao Yuan blowing himself up in the Qingyang Mountains 2 days ago was still vivid in his mind. During the conversation, the old woman had already arrived in front of Qin Feiyang. The distance between the two of them was only 2 to 3 meters. For a quasi-divinity, this distance was nothing more than a walk in the park. Suddenly, her eyes flashed with murderous intent. She stretched out her arm to grab Qin Feiyang. The palace master of Fengtian Palace was taken aback. His expression changed abruptly as he hurriedly shouted, "Stop." However, the old woman turned a deaf ear to him, and her old face was full of ridicule. However, in the depths of Qin Feiyang's eyes, there was also a hint of mockery. Whoosh! Almost at the same time, Willow Tree took a step forward and stood in front of Qin Feiyang, sending a palm strike towards the old woman. Yu Huang and the 6 elders also made a move together. The old woman was stunned. How could she react to this? Seeing this, Qin Feiyang said in his heart, "This is a good opportunity. Don't give her a chance to self-destruct. Then let's kill her directly." Yu Huang said ferociously. Taking advantage of the old woman's distraction, Willow Tree took the lead and sent a palm strike towards the old woman's chest. Puff! The old woman immediately spat out a mouthful of blood and her face turned pale. At the same time, Yu Huang also took out the snake scale, and the 6 elders also took out their battle swords. The sharp edge tore through the sky and madly slashed towards the old woman. Want to kill me? However, although Willow Tree's palm strike severely injured the old woman, it also brought her back to reality. Hee, go to hell with me. She laughed sinisterly, and a destructive aura immediately rushed out of her body. Self-destruct. The palace master of Feng Tian Palace, Li Yuan, and the others immediately changed their expressions. Yu Huang, Willow Tree, and the 6 elders were also terrified. They immediately stopped and retreated to Qin Feiyang's side. Looking at everyone who was like a frightened bird, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Then he looked at the palace master of Feng Tian Palace. At this moment, he had already taken Li Yuan and the others to hide in the space divine item. Qin Feiyang was a little annoyed. Why were a group of fake gods so timid? Willow Tree urged, young master, let's go to the castle quickly. Yu Huang and the 6 elders also had anxious looks on their faces. But Qin Feiyang was indifferent and stared at the old woman without blinking. Palace master and the others have already escaped. Why are you still not running? Aren't you afraid of death? The old woman laughed. Qin Feiyang said lightly, if you want to self-destruct, hurry up. Don't dawdle. The old woman's face darkened. What? You don't dare. Do you think I'm them? Do you think you can scare me just by pretending? Qin Feiyang sneered. Pretending? Willow Tree and the others were stunned. The palace master of the heavenly palace and the others who were hiding in the space divine item were also stunned. Then, a trace of shame couldn't help but crawl up the faces of the group of people. They weren't even afraid of a war king, but they were like birds that were startled by the twang of a bow. But now, they didn't dare to go out. Because if the old woman really self-destructed, then they would all be annihilated. Hurry up, self-destruct. Let me tell you, you have to self-destruct today. Qin Feiyang shouted. Don't force me. The old woman roared, her face full of anxiety. That's right. Her self-detonation was indeed just to scare everyone. Even. She had already planned her escape route. But what she never thought was that Qin Feiyang would actually see through her plan. So what if I force you? Today, you can either self-destruct here or die in our hands. Choose for yourself. Qin Feiyang said. The old woman was furious to the extreme, and the destructive aura that rushed out from her body became more and more terrifying. If you don't dare to self-destruct, then why are you still pretending? Qin Feiyang's face was full of disdain, and he actually took the initiative to walk towards the old woman, his aura aggressive. The old woman looked flustered and kept retreating. Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders saw this and hurriedly followed behind Qin Feiyang. His body was dripping with cold sweat. The courage of this young master was beyond imagination. Facing the self-destruction of a false god, he could still be so calm. Seeing Qin Feiyang approaching, the old woman became more and more flustered, and shouted, "Don't come any closer, or I will really self-destruct. Then hurry up. No one is stopping you. What's wrong? No temper." Qin Feiyang's eyes became more and more aggressive. The old woman collapsed. How could she meet such a difficult kid? He was not even afraid of death. What should she do now? Since you don't dare to self-destruct, then stop for me. Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. The old woman's body trembled, looking at Qin Feiyang, her eyes were full of struggle. Finally, she squatted in the void in despair, holding her head and crying bitterly. The destructive aura also gradually dissipated. Obviously. The line of defense in her heart had completely collapsed. Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders looked at each other and immediately rushed up, ready to attack the old woman. Stop! But Qin Feiyang suddenly shouted. What? Several people were stunned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. They were a little puzzled. Such a good opportunity, why stop them? The palace master of Fengtian Palace also appeared at this time. However, only he came out alone, the others were still in the space divine object. Why don't you destroy her first? The palace master of Fengtian Palace also looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Now you know how to destroy her. What were you doing just now? I really didn't expect that a group of fake gods would be cowards. Especially you. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and the 6 elders, and said, didn't I warn you in advance to prevent her from self-destructing? Willow Tree and the others nodded. Then what did you do? Seeing her self-destruct, even your souls were scared away. Is that all you have? In the situation just now, with your strength, knowing the situation, you could destroy her sea of qi when she self-destructed, but you chose to retreat and missed an opportunity. I also know that Gao Yuan's self-destruction has traumatized you. But sometimes, there is only one opportunity, once missed, there will never be another. I hope you can remember. Qin Feiyang said. Of course. Willow Tree and the others lowered their heads in shame. Even the palace master of Fengtian Palace was blushing, too ashamed to show his face. Qin Feiyang shook his head, walked to the old woman, and said, you must have your difficulties. The old woman didn't answer, but just cried bitterly. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and asked, is it because of the puppet technique? How do you know? The old woman suddenly looked up and stared at Qin Feiyang, her eyes full of surprise. It's easy to tell. If you were really a member of the Vanguo League, you would have self-destructed without hesitation. But you didn't. And a fake god is squatting here and crying, which means you have a lot of grievances. Combined with your previous behavior, I've come to the conclusion that you're under the control of the Everlasting Alliance, and have no control over yourself. Qin Feiyang said. The old woman stared blankly at Qin Feiyang, nodded after a long time, and said, back then, before I stepped into the fake god realm and became an elder, I was already controlled by the Vanguo League. I didn't want to work for them, but I had no choice. I didn't want to die. Qin Feiyang asked, if you were given a chance, would you turn over a new leaf? Of course. The old woman nodded without hesitation. Who is the person controlling you? Qin Feiyang asked. The deputy chief of the Vanguo League. The old woman said. Is he nearby right now? Qin Feiyang asked. No. The old woman shook her head. That's good. Qin Feiyang nodded. He formed a seal with both hands, and the seal of slavery quickly appeared. If the deputy chief of the Vanguo League was not nearby, he could help the old woman break the puppet technique without worry. On the contrary. If the deputy chief was nearby, he would have to enter the castle immediately. This was because the puppet technique could make people lose their consciousness. If the deputy chief saw that he could break the puppet technique, he would definitely control the old woman and make her body explode. This is. The old woman looked at the seal of slavery suspiciously. This is the seal of slavery. The seal of slavery can break the puppet technique. Qin Feiyang said. Really? The old woman was stunned and asked hurriedly. It's true. We were controlled by the puppet technique in the past. Young master used the seal of slavery to break it for me. The 6 elders said. I beg you, please help me. I really don't want to do anything that will hurt everyone. All these years, whenever I think of what I did for the Vanguo League, I want to commit suicide to atone for my sins. The old woman exclaimed. Qin Feiyang said, destroy your cultivation first. The old woman did not hesitate. She slapped her lower abdomen, and her sea of energy shattered on the spot. Chapter 1607. At the same time. In a desert in the Black Tortoise world, sand dunes stood tall as the wind howled, filling the sky with yellow sand. Two middle-aged men stood side by side on a sand dune, looking at the green mountains outside the desert, their eyes filled with anger. One of them had a square face, wearing a black robe, 7 feet tall, his long hair fluttering in the wind. The other man had a round face, about 1.75 meters tall, and was quite skinny. He wore a white robe, his hair was white, giving off a sense of vicissitudes. The aura from these two men was extremely strong. I never thought that our Vanga League would fall to such a state. This is a shame that can never be washed away. The middle-aged man in black said in a deep voice, his tone was filled with anger. No rush. We still have one more pawn. If the 9th elder of the Fengtian Palace fails to escape, he will self-destruct. At that time, not to mention Qin Feiyang's group, even the people of the Fengtian Palace will be wiped out. At that time, without the Fengtian Palace, our Vanga League will unify the Black Tortoise world. The middle-aged man in white said, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Pooh! However, before he could finish his sentence, the middle-aged man in black beside him suddenly trembled and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. What happened? The middle-aged man in white was shocked. Impossible, how could this be? The middle-aged man in black did not answer and kept muttering, his face was filled with disbelief. Tell me, what's going on? The middle-aged man in white shouted. The middle-aged man in black turned to look at the middle-aged man in white and said, the 9th elder's puppet technique was broken by someone. Obviously. He was the deputy chief of the Vanga League. What? The middle-aged man in white was shocked and angry. The puppet technique is a divine art, how could it be broken by someone? It's not impossible. At this time, a young man in purple flew to the two men. You are. The two men turned to look at the young man in purple suspiciously. The young man in purple said, Mu Qing, from the outside world. When the two men heard this, their eyes lit up. The middle-aged man in white said, you came from the outside world, so you should know Qin Feiyang very well, right? More than that. He and I, a cold light flashed in Mu Qing's eyes. The two of them looked at each other. Although Mu Qing didn't finish her sentence, they already understood what she meant. The deputy chief of the Vanga League said, you said that it's not impossible. What do you mean? Qin Feiyang has mastered a control-type divine art called the Seal of Slavery. If this divine incantation can overcome the blood-soul technique, I believe it can also overcome your puppetry technique. Mu Qing said. Why didn't you say so earlier? The deputy chief of the Vanga League said angrily. I didn't think of this before. The most important thing right now is not to study whether the slavery seal can break the puppet technique, but to leave this place immediately. Mu Qing said. That's right. 9th Elder's puppet technique has been broken. She will definitely betray us. Pass down the order immediately. Let's continue into the depths of the desert. The middle-aged man in white said. Fengtian Palace. Not only did Qin Feiyang break the old woman's puppet technique, but he also took control of her. After all, the old woman had betrayed them before, so they couldn't completely trust her. This point. Qin Feiyang didn't hide it. The old woman and the palace master of Fengtian Palace knew about it. The two of them had no objections. However, the palace master of Fengtian Palace had a request. When Qin Feiyang left the Black Tortoise realm, he had to remove the old woman's seal of slavery. Qin Feiyang asked, where are the people of the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire now? The old woman said, they have all entered the Undead Mountain. Undead Mountain. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's pupils shrank. Is the undead mountain very scary? Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Yes. It is said that the undead mountain is boundless, and there are many undead wandering in it. And the masters of these undead were basically the strongest who dominated a region. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said in a deep voice. Undead? Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, have you guys been to the undead mountain? Yes. Once, the Vanga League's leader and I joined forces to enter the undead mountain to explore, but we didn't find the end even after half a year. On the contrary, we were almost killed by the storm inside. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. Storm? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Inside the undead mountain is a desert, and there are storms in the desert all year round. The deeper you go, the stronger the storm. The place where the Vanga League's leader and I went, the storm was strong enough to kill an ordinary false god. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. Damn! Even a false god can be killed. Yu Huang swallowed his saliva. Qin Feiyang said, did you encounter the so-called undead? I didn't. The palace master of Fengtian Palace shook his head. Do the undead really exist? Yu Huang asked. They do. Qin Feiyang nodded. You've seen them? Yu Huang was surprised. Yes. I once saw a lot of lively skeletons in a place called the Nine Nether Yellow Springs. Qin Feiyang said. Willow Tree was surprised. The underworld is still there. You've been to the underworld too. This time, it was Qin Feiyang's turn to be shocked. I haven't been there, but I heard people from the Tianyang Empire talk about this place. It said that there are many treasures there. There seems to be Hell's Gate, Bridge of Helplessness, Sea of Bitterness, Permitha, and so on. Are these all true? Willow Tree asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and said, but I really didn't find any treasures. Maybe my cultivation was too weak at that time, so I couldn't detect the existence of these treasures. Amazing, I really want to go and take a look. Willow Tree said. I've been to the underworld too. The palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly said. What? You've been there? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Well, it's a long story. I'll tell you slowly when I have time. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said and looked at the old woman. Everything here, was it done by the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire? The old woman nodded. Her eyes were full of self-blame. The destruction of the palace master of Fengtian Palace was caused by her. Hearing this, the palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly burned with anger. He grabbed the old woman's clothes and shouted, then, were my wife and Chang are also killed by the Vanga League? I don't know. The old woman shook her head. I don't know. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's eyes suddenly surged with killing intent. Calm down. Qin Feiyang grabbed the palace master of Fengtian Palace's arm and said, the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire are not stupid. They will definitely keep your wife and son alive so that their plan will fail and they can use them to threaten you. The palace master of Fengtian Palace trembled and nodded. What you said makes sense. After saying that, he looked down at the old woman again and said word by word, if anything happens to my wife and Chang, I will not let you go. The old woman's eyes trembled. After being together for so many years, she was very clear about the temper of the palace master of Fengtian Palace. If he said it, he would definitely do it. The palace master of the Celestial Submission Palace snorted and let go of the old woman. Then, he lowered his head and glanced at the broken ground below. He clenched his fists and muttered, blood for blood. I will make you pay. After saying that, he turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, go to the undead mountain immediately. I don't have much time. I have to catch up with them as soon as possible. Can you open the portal in the undead mountain? Qin Feiyang asked. The palace master of Fengtian Palace shook his head. Then this is difficult. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and said, let's go in and take a look first. The palace master of Fengtian Palace immediately opened the portal. Qin Feiyang sent the 6 great elders to the castle, leaving only the willow tree and Yu Huang outside. The old woman also asked the palace master of Fengtian Palace to send the spatial divine object. Then, the 3 of them and the beast entered the portal. However, just as Qin Feiyang and the others were about to disappear, another grey figure broke through the air and entered the portal like lightning. In front of a mountain range, Qin Feiyang and the others appeared out of thin air. The grey-white figure also appeared beside them. If it wasn't Zhuge Mingyang, who else could it be? Who are you? You actually dare to run into the palace master of Fengtian and spy on us. When the palace master of Fengtian Palace saw Zhuge Mingyang, his killing intent rose. Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, and Yu Huang looked at Zhuge Mingyang, and also frowned. They never thought that this guy would be hiding in the palace master of Fengtian. Zhuge Mingyang chuckled, glanced at Qin Feiyang, looked at the palace master of Fengtian Palace, and said, I am here to help you. Help us? The palace master of Fengtian Palace raised his eyebrows. Zhuge Mingyang no longer paid attention to the palace master of Fengtian Palace, and looked at Qin Feiyang with a sinister smile. Do you remember that I once said that no matter how I change, I will always be a person of the great Qin, so to get rid of the Heavenly Sun Empire, I, Zhuge Mingyang, will not shirk my duty. Are you saying this to a ghost? I reckon that even a ghost wouldn't believe it. Yu Huang sneered. That's right. I'm sure that you have other intentions. Willow Tree also followed. Zhuge Mingyang smiled. Qin Feiyang frowned. Are you following me to find an opportunity to anger me and force me to kill you? You're so smart. Zhuge Mingyang laughed. Force you to kill him? What do you mean? The palace master of Fengtian Palace looked at Qin Feiyang with a dumbfounded face. Zhuge Mingyang raised his eyebrows. This is between Qin Feiyang and me, what are you talking about? You're courting death. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's eyes turned cold. You may not be able to kill me, you can try if you don't believe me. Zhuge Mingyang looked at him playfully, unscrupulous. The palace master of Fengtian Palace narrowed his eyes slightly, revealing a dangerous signal. But in the end, he retracted his gaze and said, I don't have time to play with you now. Yes. If you don't hurry up and chase after them, I'm afraid that your 3 idiotic sons will lose their lives. Zhuge Mingyang joked. The palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly looked at Zhuge Mingyang. Yesterday evening, I had already entered Fengtian Palace and haven't left, so when the people from the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire went to massacre your Fengtian Palace, I was there. I saw with my own eyes that they kidnapped your wife and son. Your wife was very sensible and didn't resist. But your 3 sons relied on your support and were unruly, thinking that the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire wouldn't dare to hurt them, but in the end, they were tortured quite miserably. Chapter 1608. You were there. The palace master of Fengtian Palace was stunned and said angrily, then why didn't you help them? I was wondering why I had to help them. Do I have anything to do with you? Zhuge Mingyang didn't understand. The palace master of Fengtian Palace was speechless. That's right. They weren't related, so why would this person help the palace master of Fengtian Palace? However, at least now he could be sure that his wife and 3 sons weren't dead. The group turned around and looked at the mountain range in front of them. Apart from the palace master of Fengtian Palace and Willow Tree, Qin Feiyang, Zhuge Mingyang, and Yu Huang all had a look of surprise in their eyes. The mountain range in front of them was extremely vast. However, there wasn't a single weed in the huge mountain range. There were blooming flowers everywhere, colorful and pleasing to the eye. Between the flowers, there was a cedar tree every few hundred meters. It was very thick. Some of the tree trunks couldn't be surrounded by more than a dozen people. The branches and leaves were lush like large umbrellas, towering into the sky and exuding a majestic vitality. Yu Huang asked in bewilderment, "Are these flowers and cedar trees naturally grown here?" "No. Every time someone is buried here, we will plant a cedar tree. That's because the cedar tree represents everlasting youth. It also represents our respect for those sages. Similarly, the cedar tree is the guardian of this place." The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. Yu Huang was shocked. "You mean that there are as many fake gods as there are cedars here?" "Yes." The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded. Qin Feiyang walked into the mountain range step by step and stood above a mountain ridge, looking ahead. As far as the eye could see, there were thousands of cedar trees. In other words, there were at least thousands of fake gods buried under this land. It was hard to imagine how long the Black Tortoise realm had existed. Yu Huang saw an extremely large cedar tree. The tree trunk was so thick that over 20 people holding hands would be able to encircle it. TSK. It ran up and said in surprise, "I estimate that this cedar tree is at least 10,000 years old. Don't go near the cedar." The palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly changed color. "What is it?" Yu Huang turned to look at him suspiciously. "It said that the dead false gods are buried under these cedars." Willow Tree said. "It's not a rumor, it's a fact. These cedar trees are their tombstones, and they represent them," Li Mu said. Fengtian Palace Master said. "What?" When Yu Huang heard this, he immediately jumped up and hurriedly bowed to Xue Song, saying, Sorry to disturb you, please don't take offense." After saying that, he quickly retreated to Qin Feiyang's side. Wasn't the Undead Mountain Range the place where fake gods were buried? But why didn't he see any tombstones? It turned out that these cedars were their tombstones and tombstones. "What are you afraid of? I don't believe that there are really undead here." Zhuge Mingyang pursed his lips. Fengtian Palace Master raised his eyebrows and said, "You can choose not to believe some things, but you must be respectful." "What's there to be respectful of a dead person?" Zhuge Mingyang smiled disdainfully. Clatter. However, before his voice died away, the cedars in the entire mountain range suddenly shook, and the sound was deafening. "What's going on?" Yu Huang was immediately scared and burrowed into Qin Feiyang's arms. Willow Tree also immediately took out the 7-star sword and stood in front of Qin Feiyang, looking at the cedars warily. Zhuge Mingyang's face was also filled with shock. Looking at the situation, could it be that these cedars could hear him? At the same time, Fengtian Palace Master also changed his expression and hurriedly bowed, saying, "He just came here and didn't mean to offend you. Please don't blame him." When Fengtian Palace Master's voice died away, the cedars, under the incredulous gaze of Qin Feiyang and the others, actually stopped shaking. "What do you mean? Could it be that those dead false gods are still alive in these trees?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "You're just playing tricks." Zhuge Mingyang glanced at the cedars and suddenly snorted from his nose. A grayish-white false god power rolled out, carrying an astonishing sharpness, and rushed in all directions. "No!" Fengtian Palace Master's expression changed drastically and he hurriedly shouted. However, it was too late. Because no one had expected Zhuge Mingyang to suddenly make a move. It was too late to stop him now. Clatter. The cedars seemed to have sensed the danger and shook again. "Retreat." The Imperial Conferring Palace's Palace Master looked at Qin Feiyang and shouted. Then, he took the lead and left the mountain range. When Qin Feiyang saw this, he glanced at the cedar trees. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he still stopped the Heavenly Palace Lord's words. He brought Lu Mu and Yu Huang away and rapidly retreated from the mountain range. However, Zhuge Mingyang was indifferent. The corners of his mouth even curled up into a mocking smile. This was a mockery to Qin Feiyang and the others. He glanced at the cedars around, his eyes full of contempt, and said, "A bunch of dead people still dare to come out and stir up trouble. You really don't know what you're doing. Today, I'll make you disappear completely." The grayish-white false god power rushed in all directions. The originally colorful and dazzling flowers were instantly destroyed in a large area. But suddenly, the cedar trees in the entire mountain range spewed out patches of green essence qi. They gathered together and surged towards Zhuge Mingyang like a wave. What is this? It doesn't seem to be battle qi or false god power, but it gives me a great sense of danger. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Before he finished speaking, the essence qi condensed into a huge enchantment, trapping Zhuge Mingyang and the false god power inside. Boom! The false god power hit the enchantment. But the enchantment only trembled a few times and quickly calmed down. Damn! Yu Huang's eyes widened in disbelief. He had already experienced Zhuge Mingyang's strength. Especially the false god power, which was naturally stronger than the false god power of others. But now, it couldn't break the enchantment set up by the cedars. Could it be that these cedars had also become gods? What was going on? Zhuge Mingyang was dumbfounded. Although these cedars haven't become gods, they are no different from gods. Feng Tian Palace Master seemed to have seen through Yu Huang's mind and said in a deep voice. What do you mean? Yu Huang was surprised. Feng Tian Palace Master said, "You may not know how we planted the cedars. We planted the roots of the cedars on the bodies of the ancestors." What? Yu Huang's expression changed. Feng Tian Palace Master said, "In other words, they were born with the divine blood and flesh of the ancestors. Growing the cedars with the divine body." Yu Huang and Qin Feiyang looked at each other. Isn't this too outrageous? Because they absorbed the essence of the divine blood and flesh, they are constantly evolving. Now, they are no longer ordinary cedars. They are a group of divine trees comparable to divine iron. And they have already given birth to consciousness. Feng Tian Palace Master said. Consciousness. Qin Feiyang was shocked. According to the ancient records, not only humans and beasts, but everything in the world could give birth to consciousness. Consciousness was equivalent to a human soul. But other than humans and beasts, they were usually called spirits. If a flower gave birth to consciousness, it was usually called a flower spirit. For example, a divine weapon was called a spirit. A tree was called a tree spirit. But all of this, in his opinion, was just a legend, but he didn't expect it to be true. It was happening in front of him now. How could he not be surprised? Walala. In the mountain range, the cedar trees kept swaying as if they were very angry. The emerald green essence was endless. Zhuge Mingyang stood in the barrier, and his face gradually became gloomy. I want to see what kind of waves you can make. Suddenly, he smiled sinisterly. Dragon roars echoed. A shocking aura of death erupted within the barrier. Damn it! He actually used a divine art. This is a provocation. It's an offense. Feng Tian Palace Master said angrily. What will happen? Qin Feiyang asked. Humph. Feng Tian Palace Master snorted and said disdainfully, not to mention him, even if I am a level 10 false god, I can't break the barrier set by the cedars. So powerful? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Their horror is far more than that. The great deacon's sky-breaking rod is in your hands, right? Even the revived sky-breaking rod can't break the barrier. Feng Tian Palace Master sneered. This, Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. This was too exaggerated. Yu Huang also didn't believe it. But the next moment, they had witnessed how terrifying the barrier was. Hum. Boom. Zhuge Mingyang cast a divine art and blasted the barrier. But in the end, the barrier didn't show any signs of breaking except for shaking. Terrifying, really terrifying. Yu Huang felt her heart pounding when she saw this. Suddenly, its eyes turned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Do you think these cedars can kill him? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked up at the cedars. No. The cedars won't attack any living thing, they're just passive defense. However, if you completely annoy them, they can trap a person here for the rest of their life. Feng Tian Palace Master said. Trapped here for the rest of my life. Qin Feiyang was stunned. This was good news. Now this Zhuge Mingyang, killing him was not the right thing to do. Then the best way was to be trapped somewhere. The Black Tortoise Realm was undoubtedly the best place. Because once the half-a-year limit was exceeded, Zhuge Mingyang would be controlled by the Devil Imprint. At that time, he wouldn't be able to leave the Black Tortoise Realm and naturally wouldn't be able to go out and stir up trouble. Thinking of this, Qin Feiyang's mind became active. Looking at Zhuge Mingyang, his eyes flashed and he laughed. Don't you think you're very strong? Why can't you do anything to a bunch of cedars? What a joke. I haven't shown my real skills yet. Zhuge Mingyang was so angry that he laughed. Then hurry up and show it. After all, you're a fake god now. If you can't even do anything to a bunch of cedars, it'll be embarrassing if word gets out. Qin Feiyang laughed. He was deliberately angering Zhuge Mingyang. Chapter 1609. All right. I'll show you my strongest move. You'll definitely be shocked too. Zhuge Mingyang sneered. Clang. As he waved his hand, a battle sword appeared in the air. The battle sword was more than 100 feet long and was surrounded by raging flames. The flames were grayish-white and released a sharp aura that could destroy the world. What kind of divine art is this? I've never seen it before. Qin Feiyang was surprised. Judging from the aura, the power of this divine art seemed to be no lower than his Fire Phoenix technique. 6 words killing formula, sever formula, kill. Zhuge Mingyang roared. The battle sword cut through the sky and slashed at the barrier. 6 words killing formula. Sever formula. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He knew about the 6 words divine art. But what the hell was this 6 words killing formula? Accompanied by a loud bang, the battle sword's aura was monstrous and it tore a crack in the barrier. The terrifying sword aura went straight for a cedar tree in front of them. Clang! The sword aura slashed at the cedar tree and produced a deafening sound of metal. And there were sparks bursting out. However, the cedar tree was not cut by the sword aura. The sword aura dissipated after 3 inches into the tree. It's really comparable to divine iron. Yu Huang was shocked. Indeed. Such a terrifying killing formula, I guess even a false god wouldn't dare to take it head-on. Qin Feiyang nodded. Wait, look at the hole in the tree. Willow Tree suddenly exclaimed as if he had seen something unbelievable. His eyes were full of horror. Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang looked over and their expressions immediately became extremely exaggerated. Their eyes were wide open and their mouths were wide open. It was enough to stuff an egg in. The hole left by the sword aura on the tree trunk was actually dripping with blood. That's right. That was blood. A tree was actually bleeding. What a shocking thing this was. Even if they were knowledgeable, they had never heard of such a mysterious thing. Bleeding, Palace Master Feng Tian murmured in shock. Don't you know? Willow Tree asked. In the past, whether it was Feng Tian Palace or the Vanga League, we wouldn't mess around here. That's why we didn't know that these cedars would bleed. Feng Tian Palace Master shook his head. So that's all there is to it. Zhuge Mingyang, on the other hand, was in high spirits, his face full of contempt. He swung his sword again, preparing to shatter the barrier. Rustle. Crash. Rumble. But suddenly, the surrounding cedar trees shook crazily as if they had gone crazy. Moreover, the cedar trees in the distance actually rose from the ground and broke through the air in groups. This, Zhuge Mingyang froze on the spot. What kind of monsters were these damned cedars? In the end, accompanied by a series of loud rumbling sounds, all of the cedar trees took root around Zhuge Mingyang. They were densely packed and formed an impenetrable giant cage. Let's go and take a look. Palace Master Feng Tian shouted. The group of people swept to the sky above the cage like lightning. Once in the sky, Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, and Yu Huang couldn't help but gasp. There were more than thousands of cedar trees gathered here, probably tens of thousands. They lowered their heads and looked at Zhuge Mingyang inside. Zhuge Mingyang was trapped in the middle, and the barrier that was torn apart by the sword had been closed. Zhuge Mingyang was holding the sword at the moment, crazily hacking at the barrier. But now, it didn't work at all. It was like an indestructible barrier. It turns out that this is the real power of the cedar trees. I'm afraid that except for Chang Shui and the castle, no other divine arts or divine artifacts can break this barrier. Willow Tree murmured. This scene was truly breathtaking. Palace Master Feng Tian said, this means that Zhuge Mingyang has completely angered the cedar trees here. I'm afraid he can only stay here for the rest of his life. There was a gloating tone in his words. Good. Qin Feiyang grinned. Palace Master Feng Tian was stunned and said suspiciously, isn't he a member of your great Qin? Why is it a good thing? Although he is a member of the great Qin Empire, he is a great threat to me and the greatest threat to the great Qin Empire. Qin Feiyang said. In the past, the greatest threat to great Qin was Mu Tianyang. But now, in his opinion, Mu Tianyang was no longer a threat, and Zhuge Mingyang was a greater threat. I see. Palace Master Feng Tian nodded in realization. In the cage. Seeing that he was unable to break the barrier even after a long time, Zhuge Mingyang couldn't help but start to get anxious. He raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang above and roared, are you planning to just stand there and watch the show? No, no, no. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Zhuge Mingyang said angrily, then hurry up and help. We still have to hunt down the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire. We can't waste time here. Of course I'll go hunt down the people of the Heavenly Sun Empire. But only us, not you. Qin Feiyang smiled. What do you mean? Zhuge Mingyang's heart sank. Isn't it obvious? You stay here and play with these cedar trees. Yu Huang joked. Bastard. I came to help you with good intentions, but you're leaving me in the lurch. Are you even human? Zhuge Mingyang was driven mad and roared endlessly. Thank you for your kindness, but there's no need to trouble you. We can handle a mere Heavenly Sun Empire. Goodbye. Qin Feiyang chuckled. Then, he turned around and rushed into the depths of the mountain range. You reap what you sow, the palace master of Feng Tian Palace sneered, then took a step forward and instantly landed beside Qin Feiyang. Goodbye. Good luck. No need to send us off, we'll go on our own. Just stay here and enjoy your life. Don't worry about us. Willow Tree and Yu Huang smiled at Zhuge Mingyang, then turned and chased after Qin Feiyang without looking back. Bastard, Zhuge Mingyang's angry roar immediately came out of the cage, echoing between heaven and earth for a long time. However, Qin Feiyang and the rest turned a deaf ear to it. After half an hour of rushing, they finally passed through the mountains and arrived above the desert. Woo-woo. In the desert, tornadoes could be seen everywhere, swirling up yellow sand. Due to the lack of water, the climate here was particularly dry and stuffy. The palace master of Fengtian Palace glanced at the desert, then turned to Qin Feiyang and said, "You're too slow, let me take you." Qin Feiyang nodded and said, "Let the ninth elder come out first." The palace master of Fengtian Palace waved his hand, and the old woman immediately appeared. Her sea of qi had been restored. Qin Feiyang looked at the old woman and said, "Did the Vanga League tell you where they are going?" "Yes. They said that once they enter the desert, they will keep going deeper. They also said that if my identity is accidentally exposed, I should find a way to escape and meet up with them." The old woman said, "The desert is so big, even if we know that they went deeper, we can't find them." Willow Tree said, "Indeed. Looking for someone here is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Moreover, they set off yesterday. After a day and night of running, who knows where they are now?" Yu Huang said, "No." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "They can't be too far away from us." "Why do you say that?" Yu Huang was suspicious. Although the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire started moving yesterday, the fake gods of the two forces just massacred the palace master of Fengtian not long ago. So judging from the time, they haven't been in the desert for long. Qin Feiyang said, "It's still hard to catch up with them. After all, they also have auxiliary divine arts." Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang said, "They have a lot of people, so there will be delays on the way." "Not necessarily. The Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire also have divine spatial items, so they can send everyone else to the divine spatial items." The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. "The Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire have so many people. Do they have such a large divine spatial item?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "The Emperor of the Tianyang Empire has a very large divine spatial item that can accommodate millions of people." The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. "Then how many people do the two forces have?" Qin Feiyang asked. "The Vanga League has about the same number of people as the palace master of Fengtian Palace, about 50 to 60,000. The Tianyang Empire has a lot of people, probably more than 1,000,000. The palace master of Fengtian Palace thought for a while and said, "Then this is really bad news. Let's not waste any time, we have to hurry." Qin Feiyang said. Chapter 1610. I have no choice. Mu Qing shook his head. "Then what are you talking about? The only thing we can do now is to stall until he leaves the Black Tortoise realm. I don't believe that he will stay in the Black Tortoise realm forever." The second deacon snorted. "Stall." Mu Qing sneered and said, "Is this all the Vanga League can do?" "What did you say?" "Say it again." The second deacon frowned. How dare he look down on the Vanga League in public? Did I say something wrong? The Vanga League has so many false gods and is one of the dominators of the Black Tortoise realm, but they are being chased by a combat emperor. Don't you think it's funny? Mu Qing said. In fact, he was deliberately angering the second deacon. He wanted to use the Vanga League to get rid of Qin Feiyang. Because whether it was him or Mu Tianyang, they would have to fight with Qin Feiyang sooner or later. Before, Qin Feiyang didn't have any false gods around him, so he wasn't a threat to them. Because there was no way to revive Changshui and the castle. But now, there were a total of 8 fake gods around Qin Feiyang. They could revive Changshui easily. Although it couldn't be fully revived, it was enough to be invincible. In other words, the addition of Willow Tree and the others directly doubled Qin Feiyang's strength. Boom! Hearing Mu Qing's words, the second deacon suddenly stopped in the void and a terrifying aura immediately rushed towards Mu Qing. Yan Shenho's face changed and quickly stood in front of Mu Qing. He looked at the second deacon and said, "This kid is young and doesn't know anything. I hope you can be magnanimous and not argue with him." Then, He then turned to look at Mu Qing and shouted, "Hurry up and apologize to the great deacon." "I'm sorry," Mu Qing said faintly, without any sincerity in her apology. The Grand Deacon's face was as dark as water. The aura didn't disappear. Obviously, Mu Qing's repeated provocations had angered her. Instead of showing off, why don't you think about how to deal with Qin Feiyang? It's not a solution to keep running. There are storms in this desert, there will always be delays. Mu Qing. I won't change my mind. The second deacon coldly snorted. He withdrew his divine might and flew forward. Mu Qing raised her eyebrows. Was it really going to drag it out? Dragging things out was definitely a way, but there was no way to get rid of Qin Feiyang. Mu Qing. If Qin Feiyang catches up to us, I can guarantee that the Eternal Alliance will use us as cannon fodder. They're even using us as cannon fodder. We can't just sit here and wait. We must let the Vanga League and Qin Feiyang go to war. Only in this way can our Tianyang Empire be the biggest winner. Mu Qing said secretly. You mean to let the Vanga League and Qin Feiyang fight, and then we can reap the benefits? Yan Shenhe was stunned and asked secretly. Yes. Qin Feiyang is determined to eradicate our Tianyang Empire. You've seen Qin Feiyang's current strength. Our Tianyang Empire is no match for him. And this Vanga League is the best chess piece. Mu Qing sneered. Chess piece? How dare you say that? Yan Shenhe was speechless. Why wouldn't I dare? Nowadays, brains are more important than strength. Look at Qin Feiyang. He is merely a combat arch. Yet, he was able to scare our two factions into fleeing. This is what it means to be smart. Mu Qing said. Isn't it because of Chang Shui? What does it have to do with his brains? Yan Shenhe was puzzled. If he doesn't keep Willow Tree and the others by his side, what's the use of Chang Shui? Look at the 6 elders. If it were us, we would definitely kill them. But he didn't. He kept the 6 elders by his side. Look at Yu Huang and Willow Tree. If Qin Feiyang doesn't have brains and means, will they be loyal to him? Mu Qing said. After hearing what you said, it's true. Yan Shenhe nodded. Mu Qing sneered, although the Vanga League is very strong and using them is like playing with fire, but as long as we use them well, they will be a butcher's knife. Yan Shenhe was a little moved, and asked secretly, do you have any plan? Mu Qing pondered for a while, and a flash of light flashed in his eyes, and said, slow down and let Qin Feiyang catch up. Yan Shenhe frowned, even if we slow down, the desert is so big, will Qin Feiyang know where we are? He can know. Because beside him, there is a wolf whose nose is more sensitive than a dog's. Mu Qing said. Yan Shenhe said, then how do we slow down? There must be a suitable excuse, right? Isn't the excuse right in front of you? Mu Qing looked at the back of the second deacon in front of him and sneered, I offended her just now, you can take the opportunity to teach me a lesson. You, Yan Shenhe looked at him in a daze. Mu Qing said, as long as I can achieve great things, I don't care about a little physical pain. Then you bear with it. Yan Shenhe secretly said. Come on. Mu Qing said. Yan Shenhe took a deep breath and suddenly stopped, and slapped Mu Qing's face. Mu Qing screamed and immediately fell into the desert below like a meteorite. Half of his face was directly deformed and badly mutilated. Blood spurted out and stained the yellow sand. The second deacon heard the movement and turned to look at Yan Shenhe suspiciously and asked, what happened? It's still not because of what happened before. Just now, I earnestly taught him to be polite, to know his limits, and not to be rude to a great figure like you. However, not only did he not listen, he even scolded me for being a coward. Second deacon, do you think this arrogant kid should be beaten? Yan Shenhe said angrily. Yes. The second deacon lowered his head and looked at the embarrassed Mu Qing, his eyes were full of gloating. Since he deserves it, then I will teach him a good lesson today and let him understand what is respect and awe. Yan Shenhe turned in the air and rushed toward Mu Qing. Mu Qing suddenly stood up and said angrily, "Are you qualified to beat me? I am your elder, this is my qualification." Yan Shenhe said. "Elder? I, Mu Qing, do not have cowardly elders. You like to be the Vanga League's lackey, I will not stop you, but from now on, I have nothing to do with you." After Mu Qing finished speaking, he used the perfect auxiliary technique, turned around and quickly flew away. "You dare to call us your elder's lackey? Preposterous! Preposterous!" Yan Shenhe was furious and chased after him. The second deacon smiled coldly and also followed. Mu Qing naturally could not escape. After all, Yan Shenhe's cultivation was much higher than his. Of course. This was just a show to begin with. Soon. Yan Shenhe caught up with Mu Qing. He stretched out his arm and grabbed Mu Qing's arm and pulled hard. Mu Qing immediately turned around. Yan Shenhe did not say anything and directly slapped him. Puff! Mu Qing spat out blood and his face was bloody. Yan Shenhe roared, "Do you know that you are wrong? What did I do wrong? It is you who are wrong. Think about how prestigious my Tianyang Empire is in the outside world. Who would not be respectful when they hear the name of my Tianyang Empire? But what about you? In the Black Tortoise world, you actually surrendered to the Vanga League and Fengtian Palace. It is really shameful." Mu Qing sneered. Yan Shenhe was furious to the extreme, he picked up Mu Qing and slammed him down. Boom! Mu Qing smashed into the desert and yellow sand flew everywhere. Angry out of humiliation. "Did I touch your sore spot? Since you dare to do it, why are you afraid of others talking about it? Let me tell you, I used to think that being a member of the Tianyang Empire is a very honorable thing. Proud. You can walk around with your head held high and your chest puffed out. But now, I feel ashamed." Mu Qing awkwardly crawled up and glared at Yan Shenhe. Bastard! Yan Shenhe was furious. Although it was just an act, he couldn't help but be angry when he heard this. He swooped down and landed in front of Mu Qing and immediately punched and kicked Mu Qing. The second deacon stood aside and sneered, "Young man, this is the price of not seeing the situation clearly, do you understand? Shut up. What qualifications do you have to preach to me?" Mu Qing roared. "You dare to talk to me? Even your monarch has to be respectful to me, let alone you. Yan Shenhe, if you don't make him kneel down and apologize to me today, none of you from the Tianyang Empire will live." The second deacon looked at Yan Shenhe with cold eyes and said gloomily, "Lord, please calm down. I will make him kneel down and apologize to you." Yan Shenhe's eyes trembled and quickly looked at the second deacon. "I, Mu Qing, will only kneel to the heavens, to the earth, to my parents, and to the Lord. You want me to kneel down to her? Dream on." Mu Qing said proudly. "Bastard!" Yan Shenhe shouted. "If you want to be a henchman, you can continue. I won't accompany you, goodbye." Mu Qing's eyes were full of ridicule and then disappeared without a trace. "Huh!" The second deacon was surprised. Yan Shenhe patted his head and said, "I forgot that he and Mu Tianyang have a spatial divine item. He must be inside it now." "What about Mu Tianyang?" the second deacon asked. Yan Shenhe said, "Mu Tianyang is also inside the spatial divine item. What should we do now?" The second deacon released his divine sense and quickly captured the traces of the spatial divine item in the void. Boom! In the next moment, divine power rolled out and condensed into a barrier, imprisoning the spatial divine item. Inside the spatial divine item, Mu Tianyang stood in the stone room, looking at the bruised and battered Mu Qing and said, although it was an act, this Yan Shenhe is too ruthless. It's really wronged you. He still only had a vague outline, but compared to before, it was a little clearer. It's okay. Mu Qing waved her hand. Mu Tianyang said, quickly take the healing pill. Moreover, he's a combat emperor and can't withstand your torment. So now, we can only wrong you. Mu Tianyang sneered and punched Yan Shenhe's chest again. His fist was also imbued with spiritual consciousness. Puff! Yan Shenhe suddenly spurted out blood as his heart was torn apart. He was seriously injured. What's going on? Seeing this scene, the second deacon's face was full of astonishment. Disrespecting your elders, you've gone too far. Yan Shenhe was completely furious. Because he could also see that Mu Tianyang was using his position to avenge his personal grudge. Don't say anything about respecting your elders. In front of this emperor, no matter how high your seniority is, you will always be a subject. Mu Tianyang coldly snorted. Rumble. Bang bang bang. The two of them started fighting in the air above the desert. All of a sudden, the color of the sky changed, the wind blew, rolling up a monstrous wave of sand, drowning in all directions. And then there was Qin Feiyang and his group. Under the lead of the palace master of the heavenly palace, the group was like lightning as they shuttled through the air above the desert. Young master, I always feel that it's not realistic to blindly chase after them like this. We have to think of a more convenient way. Willow Tree scanned the desert in front of him and frowned. Qin Feiyang lowered his head and did not say a word. Suddenly, he slapped his head and shook his head. How could I forget that we have an expert tracker by our side? Chasing after experts. The palace master of the heavenly palace and the ninth elder looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and White-Eyed Wolf immediately appeared. Only under such circumstances will you think of your brother. White-Eyed Wolf stared at Qin Feiyang. What do you mean only under such circumstances? When I obtained the heaven-breaking rod, no one reminded me. Didn't I also want to give it to you? Qin Feiyang said unhappily. That's just a coincidence that I saw you. White-Eyed Wolf pursed his lips. Qin Feiyang said, all right, stop talking nonsense. Quickly smell, is there the smell of humans here? Do you really think your brother has a dog's nose? White-Eyed Wolf was dissatisfied, but he did not hesitate. He used his nose to sniff and shook his head, there's no smell of them. No. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. Look for yourself, there are so many storms around. Even if they pass by here, once they are swept by the storm, their smell will immediately dissipate. White-Eyed Wolf said. Then what should we do? Willow Tree asked. What else can we do? Let's eat. White-Eyed Wolf stood on Qin Feiyang's shoulder and spread his paws. Can you be more serious? Qin Feiyang was extremely angry and mercilessly gave him a knock on the head. White-Eyed Wolf scowled. But when he saw Qin Feiyang, he also glared at him and shrank in an instant. Let's keep moving forward. There are always places that have not been swept by the storm. As long as there is a little smell left, I can track it. White-Eyed Wolf looked full of confidence. The palace master of the Palace of Conferring Heaven looked at him suspiciously, then turned into a stream of light and streaked across the sky like lightning. Soon, they came to the sky above a sand dune. Wait. White-Eyed Wolf suddenly said, his eyes flashing. You found something. The palace master of the Palace of Conferring Heaven slammed on the brakes and stopped in the void. He turned his head and looked at White-Eyed Wolf in surprise. White-Eyed Wolf jumped down from Qin Feiyang's shoulder and flew down. Soon, his eyes locked on one of the sand dune and he said in surprise, there is the smell of people here. Whose? Qin Feiyang quickly asked. It's very faint. I can't tell. White-eyed Wolf shook his head and carefully identified for a while. He looked up at Qin Feiyang and said, but I can be sure that it is indeed human. Although I can't be sure, I think it should be them. Because no one dares to come here. The palace master of the Palace of Conferring Heaven said. Then let's continue to track. Qin Feiyang urged. The palace master of the Palace of Conferring Heaven rolled up the group again and rushed in the direction pointed by White-eyed Wolf. On the way, there were constantly gaps in the smell. The so-called gaps meant that some places had been swept by the storm and the smell had completely disappeared. It was equivalent to a blank area. This undoubtedly made it more difficult to track. However, not long after, White-eyed Wolf asserted that the people of the Vanga League and the Tianyang Empire went straight into the depths of the desert and did not turn. Because although there were many gaps in the smell, they were always in a straight line. As long as they followed this straight line, they should not lose them. And the result? White-eyed Wolf did not disappoint them. Not only did he successfully track them down, but the smell also became stronger. After a while, White-eyed Wolf's eyes lit up and he said, Brother, I finally identified the owner of one of the smells. Who? Qin Feiyang asked. Mu Qing. White-eyed Wolf said. That's right. If Mu Qing is here, then the others must be here. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. Who is Mu Qing? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was suspicious. He is a descendant of the Mu Tianyang Empire. He is very amazing and has opened the rare heavenly eye. Qin Feiyang said. Heavenly eye. The palace master of Fengtian Palace's eyes trembled and he said in shock, I used to think that the heavenly eye was just a legend, but I didn't expect it to be true. Young master, Mu Tianyang seems to be in the state of divine sense now, right? Willow Tree suddenly asked. Qin Feiyang nodded. That's strange. Mu Qing is such a good body in front of him. Why didn't he seize Mu Qing's body? Willow Tree said. Qin Feiyang said, I think it should be because he thinks too highly of Mu Qing and can't bear to lose her. After a long time. Suddenly, the group of people sensed a battle in front of them. What's going on? Is it an illusion? How can there be a battle here? Qin Feiyang was surprised. It's not an illusion. Because there is the aura of Yan Shenhou in the battle. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said. Who is Yan Shenhou? Qin Feiyang asked. One of the 4 divine overlords of the Tianyang Empire. He is also a pseudo-god. After the palace master of Fengtian Palace finished speaking, he frowned and said, however, I can't recognize the aura of the person who is fighting with her. It's very unfamiliar. Unfamiliar? Qin Feiyang was stunned. As they got closer, Qin Feiyang suddenly frowned and a trace of disbelief crept up on his face. What's wrong? The palace master of Fengtian Palace noticed the change in Qin Feiyang's expression and asked in a low voice. Qin Feiyang said, the person who is fighting with Yan Shenhou is actually Mu Qing. Are you sure? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was stunned and asked. I'm sure. Qin Feiyang nodded. The palace master of Fengtian Palace asked, is Mu Qing very strong? Weaker than me. Qin Feiyang said. That's strange. Weaker than you, she can actually fight with Yan Shenhou. And they are both from the Tianyang Empire, why would they fight? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was surprised. Qin Feiyang, Willow Tree, Yu Huang, White-eyed Wolf, and the 9th elder were also puzzled. There's something strange about this. We have to be careful because this might be a trap that they have deliberately set up. The palace master of Fengtian Palace said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, waved his hand and activated the concealment technique. The group instantly disappeared from the void. looking at Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhe. At this moment, both of them were covered in wounds and looked extremely miserable. Although Yen Shenhe was seriously injured at the beginning, he was still a real pseudo-god. Mu Tianyang, on the other hand, could only rely on his consciousness to fight. And he didn't have much consciousness. Mu Qing's physical body was only the body of a war king, so it naturally couldn't be compared to the body of a pseudo-god. Therefore, facing Yen Shenhe, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. And Yen Shenhe was furious. However, he also knew about Mu Tianyang's current state, so he didn't dare to kill him. Moreover, at his peak, Mu Tianyang was a true war god. For the sake of the overall situation, he didn't dare to kill Mu Tianyang, because Mu Tianyang had the chance to recover to his peak. However, Chapter 16:12. Stop it. If this goes on, Qin Feiyang and the others will catch up. The second deacon shouted. However, Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhe turned a deaf ear to her, their eyes spitting flames of anger. I order you to stop immediately. The second deacon flew into a rage out of humiliation. He actually dared to ignore her words. Ordering this emperor. Who do you think you are? If this emperor was still at his peak, killing you would be as easy as slaughtering a dog. Mu Tianyang looked at the second deacon and said proudly. The second deacon's eyes immediately surged with killing intent. Yen Shenhe sneered, looked at Mu Tianyang and said, You also know that I was at my peak, the current you is just a dog in the water. You're courting death. Mu Tianyang was furious. In the distance, Qin Feiyang revealed a look of realization and muttered, So it's Mu Tianyang who is controlling Mu Qing's body. Wait. How could Mu Tianyang be in Mu Qing's body? Could it be that he had already possessed Mu Qing? Yu Huang looked at the second deacon and asked, She is the second deacon of the Vangu League? Yes. The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded and asked suspiciously, Where are the others? Why are there only the three of them? They should all be in the spatial divine object. No matter what the reason is, letting Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhe fight is a good opportunity for us. Qin Feiyang said. The palace master of Fengtian Palace nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at the palace master of Fengtian Palace and said, Let's split up, you take people to kill the second deacon, we'll kill Yen Shenhe and Mu Tianyang, we must kill them in one blow. Yes. The palace master of Fengtian Palace waved his hand and brought the ninth elder into the spatial divine object. Qin Feiyang also brought Willow Tree, Yu Huang, and White-Eyed Wolf into the castle. Then, he controlled the castle and silently flew towards Mu Tianyang. But at the same time, Mu Tianyang's eyes flickered with an indescribable light. This was the heavenly eye. After controlling Mu's body, he naturally controlled Mu Qing's eye of heaven. In the process of fighting with Yen Shenhe, he had always been using heaven's eye. This was so that he could keep track of his whereabouts at any time. So, in fact, he already knew that Qin Feiyang had arrived. He transmitted his voice to Yen Shenhe, Qin Feiyang is not far from us. He is rushing towards us. Prepare to retreat at any time. All right. Yen Shenhe secretly replied. The second deacon was completely unaware of the approaching danger. Looking at Mu Tianyang and the other two, he shouted, I'll say it one last time, stop immediately. The corners of their mouths curled up at the same time. It seems that you really won't cry until you enter the coffin. The second deacon suddenly soared into the air and rushed towards the two of them. Seeing this, the two of them finally stopped and turned to look at the second deacon at the same time. Mu Tianyang laughed contemptuously, and said, The one who won't cry until you enter the coffin is you. Do you want to rebel? The second deacon was startled and raised his eyebrows. Rebel? Mu Tianyang and the other two looked at each other and smiled. At this moment, The palace master of Fengtian Palace suddenly appeared behind the second deacon without any warning. Before the second deacon could react, he felt a pain in his lower abdomen. She instinctively looked down and found that there was half a sword tip on her lower abdomen. The sword was stained with blood. Someone's here. Her first reaction was to look back. Immediately, a familiar face entered his eyes and immediately turned pale with fright. He saw the palace master of Fengtian Palace, holding a battle sword with divine light in his hand, and his eyes were filled with shocking killing intent. Damn it, how did they catch up so quickly? Inside the space divine object, the Vanga League people were all shocked and angry. On the other side, Willow Tree and Yu Huang also appeared behind Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhou at the same time. Chang Shui and Snake Scale exuded a sharp aura that could destroy the world, and rushed towards the back of the two. Chang Shui. When the second deacon saw Willow Tree and Chang Shui, his eyes suddenly trembled, full of fear. Mu Tianyang smiled disdainfully, grabbed Yen Shenhou, and instantly disappeared without a trace. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were stunned. Seeing this situation, the palace master of Fengtian Palace was also stunned. How did they react so quickly? Did they know in advance that Yu Huang and Willow Tree were hiding in the dark and were ready to attack them? Whoosh! Just when the palace master of Fengtian Palace was stunned, two figures suddenly appeared and rushed towards the palace master of Fengtian Palace. One of them was the deputy chief of the Vanga League. Another person had also appeared. He was wearing a fitting white robe. His identity was not simple either. He was the chief of the Vanga League. At this moment, their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Obviously, they wanted to take advantage of the distraction of the palace master of Fengtian Palace and rush out from the space divine object, kill the palace master of Fengtian Palace, and save the second deacon. But how could the palace master of Fengtian Palace be simple? Although Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhou's reaction was somewhat unexpected, he also knew that the Vanga League people were hiding in the dark, so he did not let down his guard. As soon as the two appeared, he smiled coldly and immediately pulled out the battle sword from the second deacon's lower abdomen. The power of the false god surged in, and the battle sword quickly recovered. He slashed with the sword. The edge of the sword was overwhelming. Even the famous chief and deputy chief could not help but change their expressions and avoid the sword. At the same time, Willow Tree and Yu Huang also came back to their senses and immediately released their divine senses in all directions. Immediately, they captured Mu Tianyang's space divine object and it was escaping into the distance. Stop right there. Willow Tree and Yu Huang were furious and were about to chase after it. But at this moment, Qin Feiyang appeared out of thin air and shouted, "Willow Tree, don't chase, deal with the Vanga League first." Yes. Willow Tree nodded, grabbed Chang Shui, and turned to kill the chief and deputy chief. When the chief and deputy chief of the Vanga League saw Chang Shui, their pupils suddenly shrank, and they disappeared without any hesitation. They're hiding just like that? Willow Tree was stunned. Yu Huang floated next to Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, why didn't they chase after Mu Tianyang? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and said, if I'm not wrong, this is a trap set by Mu Tianyang and Yen Shenhou. A trap? Yu Huang was surprised. That's right. Qin Feiyang nodded and said to himself, earlier, when they looked at each other and smiled, I felt that it was a little strange. Now I understand that they were deliberately stalling for time in order for us to catch up to them. Ah. Yu Huang was stunned and said, what's in it for them if we catch up with them? Are they crazy? Of course. I think Mu Tianyang's goal is to let us and the Vanga League suffer losses, and then the Tianyang Empire will reap the benefits. Qin Feiyang said secretly. Damn, did Mu Tianyang eat a leopard's guts? He actually dared to scheme against the Vanga League. Yu Huang was speechless. Are you kidding? As an imperial emperor and a god of war, how can he not have guts? Qin Feiyang laughed secretly. However, he guessed wrong. The real mastermind of this plan was Mu Qin. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he turned around and landed next to the palace master of Fengtian Palace and looked at the second deacon who was bleeding from his abdomen. Why are you helping Fengtian Palace? The palace master of Fengtian Palace was stunned. He smiled and said, "Congratulations, little brother, you have gained another great general by your side." Qin Feiyang smiled and waved his hand. The enslavement seal went straight to the top of the second deacon's head. "Stop!" At this moment, a cold shout was heard. Then, Ning Mingyi and Zhao Tailai appeared in front of them. Qin Feiyang smirked and the enslavement seal stopped above the second deacon's head. He cupped his hands and smiled. "Greetings, seniors. I'm new here. I hope you can take care of me." Hearing this, Ning Mingyi and Zhao Tailai's eyes flashed with a hint of hostility. Take care. How could they not understand such sarcastic words? Little brother, I'm deeply sorry about Gao Yuan's self-destruction. However, this was the Grand Deacon's idea. We only knew about it after the incident. So, little brother, please don't make things difficult for the Vanga League. I'm also willing to compensate you for your loss. Ning Mingyi glanced at the second deacon, then looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled without blushing. Actually, saying these words was already a great humiliation to him as the leader of the Vanga League. With his identity and status, when had he ever been so humble? Moreover, the person he was talking to was Qin Feiyang, a mere 6-star combat emperor. You only knew about it after the incident. Compensate me for my loss. Qin Feiyang smiled mockingly and said, Are you really going to compensate me? I'm just afraid that you can't afford it. What does the Vanga League not have? Zhao Tailai snorted coldly. So confident. All right. Qin Feiyang looked at Ning Mingyi and said, Give me all your artifacts and the herbs of the Vanga League. Then, we'll call it even. You, Ning Mingyi instantly glared at him. Zhao Tailai said impolitely, Young man, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go too far. Weren't you very magnanimous and forthright just now? Why are you so hostile now? Qin Feiyang said playfully. Both of them looked extremely upset. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace said in a deep voice, Hurry up and hand over my wife and child. All right. But I have a condition too. Ning Mingyi said. Say it. The palace master said. In exchange for the second deacon and the grand deacon. 4 for 2. You won't lose out. Ning Mingyi said. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace raised his eyebrows and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Since the Grand Deacon was in Qin Feiyang's hands, he couldn't make the decision. Since it's a cooperation, I'll naturally help you. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing this, Ning Mingyi and Zhao Tailai felt extremely regretful. They didn't expect this guy to be so loyal. They shouldn't have let Gao Yuan self-destruct. If Gao Yuan didn't self-destruct, the Vanga League wouldn't be the ones in trouble. It would be the Fengtian Palace. Thank you. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace said gratefully. He looked at Ning Mingyi expressionlessly and said, Deal. Ning Mingyi sighed deeply and waved his hand. 4 figures suddenly appeared. One of them was an old woman. She looked like she was in her 30s and had maintained herself very well. There were no crow's feet at the corner of her eyes. Her skin was soft and supple. She was wearing a white floor-length dress. Her soft hair was tied up high and there was an exquisite jade hairpin at the end of her hair. Her charm was still there. The other 3 were all very young men. One of them was Li Chang. Father, save us. At this moment, His face was full of horror and he looked helplessly at the palace master of the Fengtian palace. The other two looked very similar to Li Chang. They were also looking at the palace master for help. And as Zhuge Mingyang said, the three of them were in a sorry state. Their noses were bruised and their eyes were swollen. They were covered in bruises. They were covered in blood. Their sea of qi was also destroyed. Obviously, they were tortured by the Vangu League. As for the woman, other than her cultivation being destroyed, there were no injuries on her body. Looking at the miserable state of Li Chang and the other two, the palace master of the Fengtian palace was furious. He shouted, "Let them go. Let them go together." Ning Mingi said. The palace master of the Fengtian palace quickly looked at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the senior deacon immediately appeared beside him. Looking at the senior deacon who was also covered in wounds, Ning Mingi and the other two were also furious. Ning Mingi asked, "Did he use the slave seal to control you?" The senior deacon shook his head. Ning Mingi nodded and looked at the palace master of the Fengtian palace. He said, "Give me the money and I will give you the goods. Don't play any tricks." After that, the power of the false god emerged and bound the woman and Li Chang to the palace master of the Fengtian palace. "It's you who don't play any tricks." The palace master of the Fengtian palace snorted. He also used the power of the false god to bind the senior deacon and the other two and walked toward the leader of the Vangu League. Zhao Tailai looked at the two of them and there was a flash of shocking light in the depths of his eyes. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them and then at Zhao Tailai. He sent a message to Willow Tree in Yuhuang, "Keep an eye on them. Once the two sides change, attack immediately." "Okay." Willow Tree replied secretly. In fact, even without Qin Feiyang's reminder, he was already secretly preparing. It was not hard to imagine that the Vangu League would not fight them head-on. Because in the Vangu League, there was no divine artifact that could compete with Chang Shui. Therefore, once the senior deacon and the second deacon got their hands on them, Ning Mingi and Zhao Tailai would immediately enter the divine artifact and find a chance to escape. Of course. Chapter 1614. Not only the Vangu League, but the palace master of Palace Fengtian also did not want the two deacons to return to the Vangu League alive. After all, the two of them were powerful enemies of the palace of Fengtian. If they escaped from him alive, it would be like releasing a tiger back to the mountain. There would be endless trouble in the future. Finally, Ning Mingi and the palace master of Palace Fengtian walked together. There were only 2 meters between them. Both of them were very vigilant. Ning Mingi said, "When I say 3, let's go together." The palace master of Palace Fengtian nodded. 1, 2, 3. As soon as Ning Mingi said 3, the two waved their hands. The two deacons and the mother and children flew toward each other at the same time. Almost at the same time. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. Ning Mingi waved his right hand. The power of the false god broke out of his body and rushed toward the mother and children with murderous intent. At the same time, he grabbed the air with his left hand. He wanted to send the two deacons into the space divine item. However, the palace master of Palace Fengtian also attacked at the same time. The power of the false god roared and rushed toward the two deacons. He waved his other hand and wanted to send the mother and children into the space divine item as well. Obviously, they all had the same plan in mind. Seeing such tacit cooperation, they themselves were somewhat astonished. But in an instant, the two of them came to their senses and sent the two deacons and the mother and children into their respective space divine items. Then, the two of them attacked the other party's power of the false god at the same time. Boom! Accompanied by 2 loud sounds, the two of them each took a step back and the power of the false god dissipated. However, After defeating Ning Mingyi's power of the false god, the palace master of Palace Fengtian immediately charged toward Ning Mingyi. Terrifying divine power exploded, shaking the void and the earth. Now that the mother and children were safe and sound, he could go all out and fight against the Eternal Alliance. But Ning Mingyi did not dare to. Because of Chang Shui. Chang Shui was terrifying enough to wipe out the entire Vangu League. So, seeing the palace master of Palace Fengtian attack, he immediately chose to escape and meet up with Zhao Tailai. But at this moment, Willow Tree, who had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly attacked. Pale snow in his hand gave off a world-destroying sharpness as he slashed through the air. A sword chi flew out and slashed toward Ning Mingyi. Zhao Tailai, Zhao Tailai, Zhao Tailai, and Zhao Tailai, Zhao Tailai. The sword chi streaked across the void and headed for a huge mountain in the distance. With a loud bang, the huge mountain collapsed on the spot. At the same time, seeing Ning Mingyi abandon him, Zhao Tailai was a little annoyed. He didn't dare to stop in the slightest and immediately turned around to flee. Don't even think about escaping. The palace master of Palace Fengtian Yue Zhao of Fengtian you also. Don't worry about Zhao Tailai for now. The spatial divine object is more important. Quickly find the spatial divine object and destroy it. Qin Feiyang secretly shouted. Lu Mu quivered. That's right. As long as they destroyed Ning Mingyi's godly item, the Vangu League members would not be able to hide anymore. Immediately, his divine sense spread out in all directions. In just an instant, he had captured a spatial divine object in the void ahead of him. This spatial divine item was rushing towards Zhao Tailai. Obviously, Ning Mingyi was using a spatial divine item to save Zhao Tailai. Palace Master, don't worry about Zhao Tailai for now. Trap the spatial divine item. Willow Tree shouted. When the palace master of the Imperial Conferring Palace heard this, he immediately released his spiritual force. In the meantime, his quasi-divinity power surged out. A huge divine power enchantment appeared out of nowhere. The Willow Tree smiled coldly and directly rushed into the barrier. His divine sense firmly locked onto the spatial divine item, and then he slashed at it. Clang! Immediately, sparks flew everywhere. A deafening sound rang out within the barrier. The next moment, a stone pagoda that had been split in half appeared out of thin air and fell to the ground. This was Ning Mingyi's divine spatial item. Immediately after, a large number of people appeared in the divine power enchantment in a sorry state. Densely packed. There were adults, old people, and children. There were quasi-divinities, combat emperors, and even people below the combat emperor level. Zhao Shimeng and Ning Yifeng were also inside. At a glance, there were at least 50 to 60,000. This meant that the Vangu League's people were all inside this stone pagoda. Let's see how you can hide now. Willow Tree sneered and turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang and Yu Huang were already standing outside the barrier, he immediately exited the barrier and stood beside Qin Feiyang. He released his divine sense and covered all directions. Although the Vangu League's people were forced out, the Tianyang Empire's people were still hiding in the dark, so he couldn't be careless. Break for me! Just as Willow Tree exited the barrier, an angry roar rang out. It was Ning Mingyi. He flew out from the crowd with a gloomy face. He didn't expect that even the divine spatial item would be split in half. He was undoubtedly even more afraid of Chang Shui. Boom! He attacked the divine power enchantment. Boom! The divine power enchantment set up by the palace master of the celestial palace shattered on the spot. Ning Mingyi immediately shouted to a young man, Ning Yang, take your brother and everyone else and leave. The young man was about 1.8 meters tall and looked about 27 or 28 years old. He was slender and had an extraordinary appearance. His aura had also reached the quasi-divinity level. But at this moment, his face was also full of panic. Hearing Ning Mingi's words, he immediately waved his hand and the power of the quasi-divinity appeared. He swept up everyone below the quasi-divinity level and broke through the sky like lightning. Yu Huang, go and kill them. However, I want Ning Yifeng, Ning Yiyang, Zhao Shimen, Great Deacon, and Second Deacon alive. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. From the way Ning Mingi addressed him, Ning Yiyang was also his son and would be of great use to him. As for the Great Deacon and Second Deacon, they couldn't participate in the battle because their cultivation had been destroyed and they were also in the crowd. Yu Huang laughed and immediately disappeared into the void, silently flying towards Ning Yiyang and the others. Humph! At the same time, the palace master of the Palace of Heaven Submission snorted and waved his hand. Dozens of figures appeared next to him. There were men and women. Their bodies were emitting a terrifying divine power. These were the quasi-divinities of the Palace of Heaven Submission. Kill! Don't leave a single one alive. The palace master of the Palace of Heaven Submission shouted and took the lead to attack Ning Mingi. The battle sword in his hand gave off a destructive aura. Clang! Ning Mingi waved his hand and a red broadsword appeared. The broadsword was 3 feet long and 5 fingers wide. There was a fire phoenix engraved on the handle and it seemed to be made of lava. It flashed with a dazzling light. Divine Phoenix Broadsword. Willow Tree's eyes trembled. Is it very powerful? Qin Feiyang asked. Willow Tree said, very powerful. I heard that it was passed down from the previous leaders of the Vanga League. Passed down? Qin Feiyang was taken aback. His eyes lit up as he stared at the Divine Phoenix Broadsword. He remembered that the mysterious man in the Soul-Sealing Valley said that the first leader of the Vanga League had passed down a divine weapon. It could automatically revive and protect its owner. Could it be this Divine Phoenix Broadsword? While Qin Feiyang was puzzled, Ning Mingi grabbed the Divine Phoenix Broadsword and charged towards the Palace Master of the Palace of Heaven Submission. At the same time, he shouted, "Follow me and stop the people of the Palace of Heaven Submission." Buy time for Ning Yiyang and the others. Yes. A group of people behind him shouted. There were a total of 56 people. Each of them had a powerful aura as they charged towards the people of the Palace of Heaven Submission. Zhao Tai also charged back. He also had a divine weapon in his hand. It was also a battle blade. Its entire body was pitch black, and there was a skull on the hilt. It was emitting a gloomy and cold aura. Dark Demon Broadsword. Ning Yifeng and the rest immediately turned around and fled in fear. At the top of the clouds, Ning Mingi was shocked when he heard Yu Huang's roar. He immediately looked down. When he saw Yu Huang, his expression changed. Zhao Tai, go and deal with Yu Huang. He roared at Zhao Tai below. Li Yuan, don't let anyone from the Vanga League leave the battlefield. Fengtian Palace Master shouted. Yes. Chapter 16:15. You're courting death. Zhao Tailai's eyes flashed fiercely as he grabbed the dark demon blade and slashed at Li Yuan. The terrifying blade almost tore the sky apart. Li Yuan's expression changed as he quickly dodged. Not good. Ning Mingi and Zhao Tailai have the Divine Phoenix Blade and the Dark Demon Blade. The 10 deacons of the Vanga League, other than the Grand Deacon and the Second Deacon, all have divine artifacts. But Fengtian Palace, other than the Palace Master, Li Yuan and the other elders don't have any divine artifacts. If this continues, Fengtian Palace will be at a disadvantage. Qin Feiyang said. It's not that Li Yuan and the others don't have any divine artifacts, but they were all taken by you. If the 9 palace sword formation is still in their hands, it's hard to say who will win this battle. Willow Tree smiled bitterly. Qin Feiyang was stunned and said awkwardly, other than the 9 palace sword formation, they don't have any other divine artifacts. And the vice palace master of Fengtian Palace, why haven't I seen him? There's another divine artifact. It said that it's on the same level as the sky-breaking rod and the dark demon blade. This divine artifact is in the hands of the vice palace master. The vice palace master of Fengtian Palace is none other than the palace master's wife. Her Qi has been destroyed, and like the Grand Deacon, she can't participate in the battle for a while. Willow Tree said. I see. Qin Feiyang nodded. During their conversation, Li Yuan nearly lost his life to Zhao Tailai's Black Devil Manic Saber several times. Without divine artifacts, he could only use divine arts to restrain him. But this was not a long-term plan at all. After all, Zhao Tailai also had divine arts. Facing an overwhelming advantage, Li Yuan would only become more and more embarrassed. Li Yuan, catch! Suddenly, the palace master of Fengtian Palace shouted. Li Yuan raised his head and saw a beam of 5-colored divine light shoot down from the sky like lightning. Surprisingly, it was also a battle sword. But it was very thin and soft, as thin as a cicada's wing. That's it. 5 exquisite sword. Willow Tree's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang looked at the 5-colored exquisite sword with a strange light in his eyes. Do you want to snatch it? Willow Tree asked. You're too wicked. Now that we are partners with Fengtian Palace, do you think it's appropriate for you to think that way? Qin Feiyang said unhappily. TSK, nice words, but your eyes have already betrayed you. Willow Tree said in disdain. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and said with a dark face, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, we have to focus on the overall situation. Keep pretending, keep pretending. Those who don't know would really think that you're a good person. Willow Tree rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang looked extremely embarrassed. In the meantime, seeing the 5 colors exquisite sword, Li Yuan's eyes lit up. He immediately rushed into the sky and grabbed the 5 colors exquisite sword. In an instant, he erased the blood contract inside and dripped his blood on it to claim ownership. Then, the power of the false god flowed into the sword, and the 5 colors exquisite sword immediately released a dazzling 5 colors divine light. The sharpness covered the sky and covered the earth. Zhao Tailai. Today, either you die or I die. Li Yuan roared angrily, grabbed the 5 colors exquisite sword, and pounced towards Zhao Tailai. Clang clang clang. The two of them fought crazily, and also killed their way into the sky. The destructive aura rolled in all directions. While Zhao Tailai was fighting, he shouted to the deacons, I can't leave anymore, quickly go and save everyone. Hold him back, even if you die. Li Yuan shouted angrily, then looked at Qin Feiyang and urged, Brother Qin, what are you still doing? All the deacons have divine weapons, and the people on our side are not their opponents. Hurry up and let Willow Tree make a move, or you can return the 9-palace sword formation to us first. You want to take back what is in his hands. Do you think that's possible? I don't think he has any intention of making a move. Zhao Tailai sneered. What do you mean? Li Yuan asked. Can't you see? He wants to reap the benefits while we're both injured. If you have any awareness, you should join forces with the Vanga League and get rid of him first. Zhao Tailai shouted. Li Yuan's expression froze. Was Zhao Tailai telling the truth? Otherwise, why hadn't Qin Feiyang asked Willow Tree to make a move yet? The 6 elders did not appear either. Seeing that Li Yuan had been bewitched by Zhao Tailai, the palace master of Fengtian Palace quickly shouted, Li Yuan, don't doubt Brother Qin, you must believe him. Li Yuan's gaze trembled, and he quickly came back to his senses. He slashed his sword at Zhao Tailai and sneered, You're still trying to drive a wedge between us, what a fool. It's up to you to believe it or not. Anyway, if the Vanga League disappears today, the Fengtian Palace will cease to exist as well. Zhao Tailai sneered. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed. Why are you sighing? Willow Tree was puzzled. Zhao Tailai was also suspicious. Qin Feiyang raised his head and looked at Zhao Tailai, saying, I actually wanted the Vanga League to jump around a little longer, because once I asked Willow Tree to make a move, the Vanga League will be destroyed in an instant. But you didn't appreciate my kindness. Zhao Tailai's heart sank. Since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Qin Feiyang sneered, and the 6 elders appeared out of thin air. Clang! The 6 elders scanned the battlefield coldly. Battle swords appeared one after another, and a murderous aura filled the air. Ning Mingyi's body tensed up, and he quickly shouted, Brother Qin, let's talk nicely. There's nothing to talk about. Willow Tree, kill Zhao Tailai. 6 elders, help the elders of the Fengtian Palace and kill the 8 deacons of the Vanga League. Qin Feiyang shouted. Yes. The 6 elders bowed and immediately charged toward the deacons with their battle swords. Willow Tree didn't move. He sent a message, Young Lord, I have to stay by your side to prevent the Tianyang Empire from ambushing you. It's okay. I'll be careful. I'll enter the castle as soon as they appear. Qin Feiyang said. All right then, be careful. Lu Mu nodded helplessly. Then, he brought Sang Shui and soared into the clouds, heading straight for Zhao Tailai. Damn it! Zhao Tailai fell into panic in an instant. He was afraid that he wasn't Willow Tree, but Chang Shui. Brother Qin, I agree to your conditions. I'll give you the herbs of the Vanga League and this divine phoenix blade. I only hope that you won't interfere with our battle with the Fengtian Palace. Ning Mingyi was also extremely anxious as he roared. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace also became nervous. The overall strength of the Fengtian Palace and the Vanga League was similar. Therefore, Qin Feiyang was a key factor. No matter which side Qin Feiyang joined, the balance would be broken. In other words, the side that Qin Feiyang joined would be the side that would win. If you had agreed earlier, I would have considered it. But it's too late now. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Bastard! Ning Mingyi was so angry that he was going crazy. He frantically revived the divine phoenix saber. It was as if he did not want to live anymore. The Vanga League will be destroyed today. The palace master of the Fengtian Palace sneered. Their strength was on par with each other. However, Zhao Tailai's heart was burning with anxiety. Although Li Yuan was only an elder of the Fengtian Palace, his cultivation had reached stage 10 false god. Just Li Yuan alone was enough to give him a headache. Now that Willow Tree was involved, how could he win? Suddenly, a murderous look flashed in his eyes as he looked at the 8 deacons and false gods. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto a man in black. This man was also a member of the Vanga League. But suddenly, the burly man's eyes glazed over, and he abandoned his opponent and went straight for the Willow Tree. Willow Tree was stunned. He turned around and looked at the man. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. You're asking for it. But in the next moment, he noticed that there was something wrong with the man's eyes. It was exactly the same as when Wang Yu was controlled by the pagoda master. Could it be puppet technique? Retreat. Willow Tree's body trembled and he roared. As he roared, he turned around and dashed toward Qin Feiyang without hesitation. What? Everyone present was startled by Willow Tree's roar. When they saw the expression on the burly man's face, it wasn't just the people from Heaven Bestowal Palace. Even the people from the Everlasting Alliance were shocked. In the next moment, both sides stopped fighting at the same time, turned around and fled in different directions. Only Ning Mingi and the palace master were still fighting. Are they going to self-destruct? In the distance, Yu Huang muttered to himself. However, this had nothing to do with it. Because it was thousands of miles away from the battlefield. Although the false god's self-destruction would also affect this place, it still had time to escape, so it was not a threat to it. Ning Yang and the others were also frantically fleeing. Yu Huang glanced at the group of people, sneered, and chased after them like lightning. Its body, which was originally more than half a meter long, expanded in the wind. In an instant, a giant python that was hundreds of feet long appeared out of nowhere. Following closely, it opened its mouth wide, and a scarlet tongue shot out from its mouth. In an instant, hundreds of people were wrapped up and sucked into its mouth. You damned beast! The senior deacon and the second deacon roared. If their sea of qi was not destroyed, how could they allow Yu Huang to do whatever he wanted? Self-destruction. Qin Feiyang looked at the burly man in black with a slightly gloomy gaze. He had already expected this situation. And he also expected that there would definitely be more than one false god who would self-destruct in this battle. Previously, he did not let Willow Tree and the 6 elders take action because he was afraid that the false gods of the Vangu League would self-destruct. Because once Willow Tree took action, facing Chang Shui, the people of the Vangu League would definitely be desperate. What would a desperate person not do? However, he would have to face this situation sooner or later. But to be honest, he was really powerless to stop the self-destruction. Clang! Rumble! At the top of the clouds, Ning Mingi and the palace master of Fengtian Palace were really angry and turned a blind eye to the burly man's self-destruction. When Zhao Tailai saw him, he hurriedly shouted, "Leader, where there is life, there is hope. Let's go." Ning Mingi glanced at the burly man with a stomach full of anger and grievance. He put away the divine phoenix saber, turned around, and fled without looking back. Don't even think about leaving. The palace master of Fengtian Palace shouted and chased after him. Don't even think about it. Zhao Tailai roared. Another middle-aged burly man rushed to the sky and flew toward the palace master of Fengtian Palace. His eyes were the same as the black-clothed man's, empty and lifeless. It was obvious. This person was also controlled by the puppet technique. How cruel. He didn't even let go of his own people. Qin Feiyang's eyes were full of disgust. Chapter 16:16. Under the vice leader's control, one chased after Willow Tree while the other chased after the palace master of the Fengtian Palace. Willow Tree and the palace master of the Fengtian Palace were the biggest threats to them. Willow Tree shouted anxiously, "Young master, quickly think of a way. Otherwise, they will escape." It was obvious. The vice leader would not let the 2 men self-destruct. If they self-destructed now, his Vangu League members would not be able to escape. Self-destructing one's physical body was different from using battle arts and fighting souls. Battle arts and fighting souls, including divine arts, could be controlled by the master. However, no one could control self-destructing. Once someone self-destructed, it did not matter if they were friend or foe, they would be injured. Especially in a large-scale battle like this. If any fake god self-destructed, both sides would be injured. However, even though they knew that the 2 men would not self-destruct, Qin Feiyang and the rest did not dare to chase after them. If they chased after them, what if the vice leader was driven to desperation and controlled the 2 men to self-destruct? The consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, the vice leader took advantage of this and used the 2 men to delay Qin Feiyang and the rest so that his Vangu League members could escape. Qin Feiyang frowned. It was not easy to seize this opportunity. How could he let the Vangu League members escape? Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at the palace master of the Fengtian Palace in surprise. Facing the middle-aged man who could self-destruct at any time, the palace master of the Fengtian Palace was not afraid at all. He continued to chase after Ning Mingi. What was going on? Why was the palace master of the Fengtian Palace not retreating? Could it be that he was so angry that he lost his mind? But that was impossible. As the palace master of the Fengtian Palace and the overlord of the Black Tortoise world, how could he lose his mind because of this? Wait. Could it be? Qin Feiyang seemed to have thought of something and his eyes lit up. He looked at Li Yuan and the rest and shouted, "Come to me now." Li Yuan and the others were stunned when they heard this, and when they recovered from their shock, they didn't hesitate to flash towards Qin Feiyang like bolts of lightning. As for the 6 great elders, they were already flying towards Qin Feiyang when they saw that the situation was not good. "Willow Tree, hold that black-clothed man back." At the same time, Qin Feiyang secretly said something to Willow Tree and then entered the castle. Inside the castle, everyone had already woken up from their cultivation. Seeing Qin Feiyang come in, they all had worried looks. "Don't worry, I can handle it." Qin Feiyang smiled and comforted her. He looked at Ling Yunfei and said, "Send everyone into your spatial divine item." After saying that, but he didn't even frown. Instead, he used the impact of the air waves to speed up and rush towards Qin Feiyang. As soon as the two met, Qin Feiyang immediately brought Willow Tree into the ancient castle. At the same time, at the top of the clouds, when the middle-aged man self-destructed, the palace master of Fengtian Palace pursed his lips in disdain and disappeared in an instant. In front of Ning Mingi, a white armor immediately appeared on his body and quickly recovered, shining with dazzling divine light. Obviously, this was also a divine artifact. But even with the protection of the armor, he was blown away by the air waves on the spot, and blood gushed out of his mouth. And the gaps of the armor were also spurting out blood. From this, it could be seen. His body had also suffered a fatal injury. But he didn't care about his injuries and rushed to meet up with Zhao Tailai and the others. Humph! The palace master of Fengtian Palace snorted from his nose. He controlled the space divine artifact and broke through layers of wind and waves, following behind Ning Mingi. At the same time, Qin Feiyang also controlled the ancient castle and chased after Ning Mingi and the others. After taking a healing pill, Willow Tree stood next to Qin Feiyang and stared at Ning Mingi and the others on the screen. His eyes flashed with a shocking cold light. This was the second time he had almost died under the self-destruction of the Vangu League. Unforgivable. Fuck, they really self-destructed. Then, he looked at Yu Huan. Hearing the movement behind him, he cursed angrily and immediately sped up. He spat out the snake's forked tongue and rolled up the senior deacon, the second deacon, Ning Yifeng, Zhao Shimeng, and Ning Yiyang. Then, he turned on the escape mode without looking back. As for the others, he didn't care. Rumble. The self-destruction of the two men was like the end of the world. The void collapsed and the desert sank. The destructive airwaves were earth-shattering. The group of fake gods of the Vangu League, including Zhao Tailai, used all their strength. However, the waves of air surged even faster. In the blink of an eye, it spread thousands of miles away. They were still swept by the air waves. One by one, they were sent flying on the spot with blood all over their bodies. Fortunately, they were far enough away now. Fortunately, their cultivation was strong enough. They were all fake gods. Otherwise, they would have died. However, those who had fled with Ning Yiyang were not so lucky. Although they were very far away from the center of the explosion and were running for their lives, their cultivation was still too weak. The air waves swept past Zhao Tailai and the others and went straight to them. "Leader, save us!" Feeling the rolling air waves, the group of people shouted in panic, their hearts full of despair. Zhao Tailai and the others who were sent flying by the air waves also rushed to rescue after stabilizing their bodies. However, In the end, it was too late. A group of people was drowned by the air waves one after another. Accompanied by shrill screams, tens of thousands of people's bodies were shattered on the spot, and blood dyed the sky red. Damn it! Qin Feiyang, Fengtian Palace, I swear that I will never let you go. Ning Mingi roared, gritting his teeth and cracking his eyes. When you slaughtered my Fengtian Palace, why didn't I see you show mercy? Now you know pain. However, their death has nothing to do with me and Qin Feiyang. It was you who killed them because you controlled those two to self-destruct and killed them. But at this moment, the Fengtian Palace Master appeared from the space divine object, murderous intent overflowing from his body. You caught up so quickly. And you are not injured at all. When the group of people saw the Fengtian Palace Master, they panicked. Injured? Are you kidding me? I have a space divine object, how can I be injured? As long as my space divine object is still there, no matter how many of you self-destruct, it will not affect me. On the contrary, you are the ones who were seriously injured by your own self-destruction. Now, do you still dare to self-destruct? In fact, I really hope that you all will self-destruct, so that I don't have to do it myself. The Fengtian Palace Master sneered. Ning Mingi and the others' faces were gloomy. Yes. The other party had a space divine object, so self-destruction was useless. However, if they fought head-on, Qin Feiyang had the Changshui in his hands, they would die. What should they do? It's all Qin Feiyang's fault. If he and Willow Tree didn't use the Changshui to destroy our space divine object, we wouldn't be in such a sorry state. A false god roared in anger. What's the use of saying this now? Before Qin Feiyang and the others catch up, let's kill the Fengtian Palace Master and steal his space divine object. With the space divine object, they can't do anything to us. Zhao Tailai said angrily. Yes. Qin Feiyang is only a 6-star combat emperor. He won't be able to get here so quickly with the space divine object. Kill him quickly. The third deacon shouted. The group of people immediately turned around and charged toward the Fengtian Palace Master with murderous intent in their eyes. Kill me. The Fengtian Palace Master smiled disdainfully and disappeared in front of the group of people. Damn it. Come out if you have the guts. Why are you hiding? Zhao Tailai roared immediately. The Fengtian Palace Master ignored him and stood in front of the group of people with the space divine object. He wasn't stupid enough to fight with so many false gods in the Vangu League alone. There was no need to take the risk now.